Tom Bilyeu Show live. I am here with Drew,
What up?
Mason,
Yeah.
G, and Eric behind the camera, and we are going to be walking you through what is going on in the world today. There's no shortage of fun, especially not if you guys were watching the mayoral debate in New York City. I've got feelings, Drew. I'm not going to lie. I've got feelings about Mamdani and let's call it economic suicide. So anyway, Mamdani and Cuomo ultimately collided in the New York City mayoral debate. There was a third candidate. It was actually pretty interesting if you grew up in the 80s and know what the angels, the guardian angels were all about on New York. But the bigger question is, why were they necessary? And they were like sort of a vigilante group. But it was interesting to see that he's still alive and kicking, but definitely not going to win for mayor. And Polymarket clocks Mamdani at 89% chance of winning. And anybody paying attention to Polymarket, they have a 91.1, I think, percent accuracy rate, which is absolutely insane. It is basically the ability to predict the future. 91%. That's wild. I don't think people understand just how fascinating that is, that you get like a day or two glimpse into what's going to happen. It's pretty important to pay attention to that. All right. Gazans are pleading with the world to help with Hamas, who is executing Palestinian civilians. We covered this in the last episode, but it continues to be a problem. Trump is now threatening to kill Hamas if they don't stop slaughtering Palestinians. And he used the word we will go kill them. And so that stirred up a lot of controversy. We're going to be talking about that. Speaking of things that are worthy of discussion, Trump has moved B-52 bombers near Venezuela. And it's not the only thing that he's moving. He's moving a bunch of black ops stuff down there. So I sense instability in Venezuela's future, Drew. I can't remember if he was elected and then broke dictator or if he couped the country. That I don't know. But Madera offered Americans a whole bunch of deals on oil and other things, and Trump turned it down and instead has sent a bunch of military equipment. So things are about to get weird. 18 indictments have come down on Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, and the lawfare continues. And given how many indictments have come down, I'm sure there's some smoke here. We'll see if there's any fire, but no matter what, this is a horrible loop that we are in. So my take on that is not going to surprise anybody. Candace Owens is denied her Australian visa due to fears that she will spark unrest. Continues to be a massive switch in importance away from traditional media into people online. Obviously, as one of said people, it is certainly something I'm a huge proponent of. However, I do think that people can get sucked into their own rabbit holes, that it tends to attract people that maybe have a little too much confidence in themselves. Oh, do I get the irony of me saying that while being here on camera? But nonetheless, it is a fascinating dance with the type of person that's going to be attracted to doing this in the first place, the type of person that's going to be able to build a big audience, what it takes to monopolize the algorithms. All of those things don't necessarily lead to a nice, calm breakdown of what's going on. So we'll see. We'll talk more about that. Speaking of people that are being changed in real time by the algorithms, if you guys aren't watching Don Lemon, it's certainly worth watching the clips. He has recently called for black and brown people to get guns and resist ICE. And I'm going to want your guys' opinion on this. There's something wrong with the way he's talking. Drew's laughing. I'm telling you, he's taking drugs or something. It is very weird. There's something wrong with his speech. Now, I'm not a longtime listener of Don Lemon, so maybe people will tell me he's always talked like that. But at first, I thought someone was making fun of someone, and then I realized, wait, hold on, that's actually Don Lemon. So something strange is afoot, boys and girls. So be interesting to get your guys' take on that. And AI has made its first novel breakthrough in science, basically putting forward a hypothesis about cancer immunotherapy, and it seems to be proving to be true in real life. So that would be huge if that ends up holding. And then there's another one that we'll talk about as well. And so it seems like that there really are two back-to-back novel breakthroughs made by AI that will transform the world. If AI starts doing that, I'm telling you, this is where the brakes come off and AI starts making good on all the promises. So very, very exciting. All right, Drew. Today is a big day, made doubly big by our partners over at Ground News.
Shout out to Ground
Could not
News.
be more grateful to these guys. And again, to you guys for actually taking action and checking them out. So please do look at what Ground News is doing. It is really in a time right now where there is so much media manipulation. To have Ground News is incredible. They have pointed out, I think really succinctly, that every outlet out there has an agenda. Every headline is designed to trigger us. And you're making decisions right now based on incomplete, wildly biased information if you're just getting all of your information from the news. Most people think that they're informed because they read the news or they listen to their given subset of podcasts, but we are all prone to being sucked into an echo chamber. So if you're only getting information from one side, you're being wildly misinformed. In fact, you're being programmed. So Ground News, their whole reason for existing is to solve that problem. And it's the only platform that shows you how every major story is being covered across the entire political spectrum. They've got over 50,000 news sources side by side with bias ratings for each outlet. So they're going to give you like how the world is covering all the breaking stories. So make sure that you guys check them out. You're going to be able to see which outlets are covering things from a certain angle, who's ignoring what story and who ignores what. That is important. It will also help you understand your own blind spots so that you can make truly informed decisions. All right, we've got you guys an exclusive deal for our community, 40% off Ground News Vantage. That is their most comprehensive plan. It's going to get you unlimited access to bias analysis and the blind spot feed that reveals what stories you might be missing. So click the link below or head to right now, ground.news/Tom for the 40% off the Vantage plan. Again, that's ground.news/Tom to get 40% off. All right. I am legitimately impressed with what those guys are doing and super stoked that we are now getting people supporting the live. So shout out to you guys. If you didn't show up, there would be nobody, nothing. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. Ground News came back. They sponsored us, left. They came back because you guys definitely took action. So again, thank you. Because if you guys weren't signing up and things like that, they'll be like, this isn't worth sponsoring. But yes. All right, let's jump into it. Twitter's on fire. Some people say New York is headed to a shitstorm, but the mayoral debate was yesterday.
Yes.
In the words of Tom, who calls Mamdani his villain, is he like your super villain now at this point, like an arch nemesis?
Listen, the super villain is Marxism itself, socialism itself. So what Drew's referring to is I interviewed Representative Ro Khanna yesterday, and he has given his support to Mamdani, asked me what I thought about him, and I said I thought he was a villain. And I really don't think people take seriously enough the steps on the path to hell. And just because we aren't fully socialist yet doesn't mean that we aren't marching down that path. I forget where I was explaining it like this, but the right way to think about it, this is with Michael Malice. So we're headed down a path. Ahead of us is a branch, and one branch is just total financial collapse. When you look at the price of gold right now and realize how rapidly it's going up, and the price of gold is an indication as to how stable the market thinks your economy is, how stable your currency is, and it's saying, bro, you're in real trouble. And everything that is wrong with the economy right now is based on debt, money printing. I mean, that's like it's 98% of the ball game.
Yeah.
So Mamdani is going to make that worse. So I can't deny that he's slick. I can't deny that his performance in the debate wasn't great. I can't deny that he's got the energy. He's youthful. When you've had 4 years of Biden mushmouth, literally senile, in the Oval Office, unable to string a sentence together, falling off a bicycle, and you see somebody young, it's automatically like, whoa, it is a breath of fresh air. It is extremely energizing. But he's going to march us down a path that is another step towards something that is absolutely catastrophic for the very people that he says he's trying to help.
All right, well, let's jump into it. So quick Ground News summary. On October 16th, the 3 mayoral candidates. People forget there's a third guy up there. I feel bad for him because it's really a two-man race. And if you look at Polymarket, they have Zoran at 89% chance of winning. Quinnipiac poll after the debate shows Mamdani at 46% support, the highest of all three candidates. And there is one more debate scheduled for the 22nd. Early voting starts on the 25th. So we are right in the thick things, a week away from actual ballots being cast. Let's look at a couple clips from the debate yesterday.
Mr. Mamdani, you want to respond?
And if we have a health pandemic, then why would New Yorkers turn back to the governor who sent seniors to their death in nursing homes? That's the kind of experience that's on offer here today. What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
Mr. Mamdani.
Listen,
Smooth, man. That was a smooth burn.
I will say people clowning him for having been a rapper, and I have not heard his rap, and so I have no idea if he was any good. But the reality is rap is about being able to construct sentences in a way that rhyme, that hit, that are memorable, that are catchy. And if he spent any amount of his time practicing that ability, and now he's doing it in a different context, like don't be surprised that he sounds as slick and as smooth as he does. This is why I think a lot of stand-up comics end up being successful as podcasters is you've spent an inordinate amount of time training to talk, to be easy, to build to punchlines, to hold tension, to create storytelling. Like it is, they're not one and the same, but they use a very similar skill set. So he's an entertainer. People are going to try to clown on him for being an actor, but so was Arnold Schwarzenegger. So was Ronald Reagan. It's like, it's good practice at glad handing. It's good practice at persona maintenance. And so all of those things, which are incredibly valuable to a politician, are going to shine through. Like this guy is going to be tough to beat for anybody. He's sharp. He's well practiced, like clearly. This guy's putting in the time and the energy to be very good at these answers, to have message discipline, to answer the question he wants to answer, not necessarily what you asked. Like part of this is that he's just out in the trenches. He's out face to face with people. He's shaking hands. He's getting confronted with the arguments from every conceivable angle. He's getting a chance to dry run all of his answers. He's finding out this is like a sales guy who's just doing hundreds of sales calls every day, objection handling, going back with his team and then saying, okay, like I got hit with this one. I did not like the way that I felt when I was answering it. How do we tighten this up? This is what like greatness demands of people. And so from that perspective, shout out to my man who, even though his rhetoric makes me very angry, Drew.
We're going to get there.
The thing he's obviously doing behind the scenes to be at the top of his game is what anyone would have to do to be at the top of their game.
100%. He can run a masterclass on how to run a campaign in 2025 for sure.
Yeah.
All right. I want to take this bus clip in two perspectives because we have one person who's seen it retweet something and then we're going to have another person sees it. They're looking at the same thing. They're getting two different takeaways and we're going to jump into the policy perspective in and of itself.
Let's talk about free buses. Mr. Mamdani, this is a centerpiece of your campaign. Can you explain how you will make buses free? You have 30 seconds to answer.
Absolutely. We will make buses free by replacing the revenue that the MTA currently gets from buses. This is revenue that's around $700 million or so. That's less money than Andrew Cuomo gave to Elon Musk in $959 million in tax credits when he was the governor. And the reason that we will do so is that making buses free doesn't just provide economic relief, but also public safety. Because what we've seen is that it decreases assaults on bus drivers by 38.9%. New Yorkers deserve more than the slowest buses in the country. I know.
Let's talk about free.
All right. So then this person retweets it. Mamdani, free buses will cost $700 million. Cuomo gave more than $959 million to Elon Musk for a failed Tesla factory. Don't tell me we can't afford public transit when billionaires get blank checks for hype. Another person retweeted it and said, but the question is, how would you make bus free? Mamdani, I'm going to raise taxes by $9 billion. This person retweeted, NYC liberals so deserve this loser. Same snippet, same part of the debate. Some people are saying, well, you're going to raise taxes to pay for this. Another person is saying, well, we're already spending money on dumb stuff. Maybe we can reallocate it. There's a lot of noise happening right now, especially with this capitalism versus socialism debate. But I feel like this snippet might be a good jumping on point to that to see like, how should we approach this problem? Is it just a math problem? Are people just spinning us? How do we kind of see what is the true way, quote unquote, to look at this?
It's always a math problem and you're always being spun. So yes, on both of those. So part of the spin is to say that the buses are going to be free. The buses are never going to be free. Nothing is ever going to be free. Everything is going to be paid for by somebody. This is exactly why taxes exist. But because people have no sense of like, wait, I'm being taxed and I get what? They have no visceral connection between my taxes go out of my paycheck and then I get this thing. And if they had more visibility into that, if they felt like they had a deeper sense of control, I think people would vote very differently. But this all becomes abstracted. This all becomes like talking points to a politician. Instead of like, imagine if you had to go to the grocery store and it's like, okay, you're going to generate this much tax revenue for the year. How would you like to see all of this allocated? And you see all the line items. That, I mean, one, I am hyper aware of the fact you'll never even get people to do it, which is exactly how people continue to get manipulated. But people that went through and did it, I think it would be startling the things that get funded now that people be like, you must be joking. I don't want any of my money going to that. I want my money going to this, which is exactly why the founding fathers were like, get me away from democracy. I don't want anything to do with democracy. I want a representative republic, which I think people are often confused that we technically did not start out with a democracy for very specific reasons. Whether people agree with the reasons or not is a totally different ballgame. But we did not start out with a democracy. So it is very interesting to watch the spin happen. The buses are going to be paid for by somebody. Now, if New York decides that what they want is free buses, then my only question is, what aren't you going to do to be able to pay for that?
Where's the trade-off?
Yeah, where's the trade-off? And so if Mamdani is really just going to show people, hey, we're going to charge more here, and this is going to be the result that we're going to get, and here's why we think this is going to work out great, that's fantastic. It really is that math equation. And I'm not dogmatically opposed to Mamdani. I'm dogmatically opposed to the things that the DSA puts forward as being good for the average American, which they're absolutely horrible. He is I don't know if he's technically a member, but he's hyper connected to the DSA, is running a DSA campaign. And that's the Democratic Socialists of America. So this is somebody who has imbued a lot of policies from a group that I think just doesn't understand the physics of what makes an economy healthy, what makes a community healthy. And so that's my pushback. But if he does policies where it's like, no, we're gonna raise taxes here, that's exactly where we're gonna generate that. And then if you watch, and because what he's saying is this is gonna help with childcare, for instance. And if what we see is a measurable improvement in something that we all care about based on that, and you don't see capital flight because they're like, okay, yeah, this is a thing that's worth paying for, great, no problem. I have exactly zero belief that that's how this is going to go. I think he's doing it from an ideological standpoint. I think no matter what happens economically, whether he gets the funding or not, whether tax revenue goes down or not, he's going to keep pushing his agenda because he believes from an ideological standpoint, this is what we ought to do, and I don't care what it does to the economy, I'm going to push it through. So you heard it here first. Like, there will be nowhere for me to run from that statement. If he ends up being fiscally responsible, great. Yeah. I'll be perfectly happy. I doubt it.
All right, there's a couple things on the table. I want to kind of parse through these things. So going right back specifically to the debate and the zinger that Mamdani used where he said, Elon Musk got these subsidies. This is what we are spending anyway, whether it's in tax breaks, whether it's in government programs, to corporations.
Yeah.
In an idea, like we're looking at the line item budget, if Mamdani was to walk in and say, no more tax breaks for this, we're going to allocate it to buses. Net expenditures go up $0. We're just reallocating the funds. So instead of investing into these, I'm going to invest into that. Would that throw off any alarms? But if the budget's not getting, that would be like, okay.
Whenever a city, a country says, this is the tax revenue that we've taken in, and this is how we're going to allocate it, and these are the outcomes that we're getting, that is how it should run.
Gotcha.
So It's only when we go, okay, I'm going to be reallocating these tax dollars. Let's take his grocery stores. I want even better. I want to freeze rents. I want to freeze rents because I believe that the city has become too expensive. Okay, well, you had me at hello. The city's too expensive. Yeah, cool. I think that housing has become too expensive essentially ubiquitously across all of America. I think it is one of the most catastrophic problems. We've iced out young people. We have essentially enslaved young people in governmental debt. Okay, So now he says this thing that I'm like, we are on the same page. This is how I felt talking to Ro Khanna. Ro, you and I are saying the same thing, but our solutions are wildly opposed to each other. And I think that we can run the math to see who's right. Like, we don't need an opinion poll. We just need to look at the math. So if Mamdani were to, first of all, when I'm teaching entrepreneurs, I always tell them, has anybody done this before? And if they have, go find out what happened. Did it go well? Did it go poorly? So we have tried rent freezes before in New York. In fact, we're doing rent freezes already in New York.
Yeah, correct.
It hasn't solved the problem. We did rent freezes in the extreme back in the 60s and 70s, and it led to the burned out buildings in the 70s and 80s. So it got to the point where what's happening is people do not understand that even buildings, housing is an entrepreneurial endeavor. It is somebody who their product is an apartment complex. And you being able to, you buy that product because you want to live inside of it. And what ends up happening is, imagine if I told you, hey, you can't charge people for a pair of shoes. You can't charge them that amount for a pair of shoes. Well, all of a sudden, the number of people making shoes goes down because it's very hard to make something where the outputs are more valuable than the inputs. It's just very difficult. And so when you start telling people, no, you can't even charge that much, well, then it has a knock-on consequence to all the things that they can make those shoes from. And so upkeep in a building, to take it back to real estate, when you put rent freezes, they're like, well, you've now just made it impossible for me to make money off my building. And maybe you make it break even, which just reduces somebody's incentive because they're like, wait, I'm going to have to work this hard and I'm going to have nothing to show for it. Why would I do that? Like they know in their own life they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't go to work if at the end they had no money to show for it. That would be the world's weirdest thing. At that point, it's just charity. So people aren't going to run businesses out of charity. And then if you put them in the position as we did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s with the rent freezes, rent controls, in literally his own neighborhood, this is the Bronx, what ends up happening is people go, wait a second, if at those rents, I can't afford to repair the plumbing, for instance. So they don't. And they tell you, wrap a towel around it. And so you end up in a situation, this is real, watch the deep dive that I did on this subject. You end up where a quarter of all of the buildings that burned in the Bronx were due to arson, because it was cheaper to burn the building and collect the insurance money than it was to try to upkeep it. And so housing became an absolute nightmare during all of this. It's one of those where when you start mapping Marxist beliefs on somebody who's really trying to make the poor's life better, you're going to be eternally confused, because they'll do things that are so obviously well documented that it doesn't work, and they do it anyway. So it's like, why are they doing that? If you map them, and they have done a cross-culture study on this, if you map them as resentful people who want to punish the wealthy, all of a sudden all of their moves make sense. And so in the cross-cultural study, what they found was if people had the opportunity to create a tax policy that made the poor's lives better, but also helped the wealthy, they won't vote for it. Not as much as they'll vote for something that makes the life of the poor worse, but punishes the wealthy. So really drink that in for a second. Across cultures, the thing that people will actually vote for is the thing that hurts the rich. They won't vote for the thing that helps the poor. And so helping the poor would be, let the free market do what the free market is going to do. Stop putting so many regulations on housing, and let people go in and build new apartments, build new buildings, and charge whatever rent they can get away with charging. Now, putting some restrictions on it, like we're not going to let foreign investors buy property. Okay, I get that. We're not going to let, or what my proposal to Ro Khanna was, with every additional property that a person buys, just charge them bigger and bigger taxes. So it's like, if somebody wants to buy the third property and you're charging them 50% tax, okay, well, that's on them. They've got their reasons. They think they can make it work. Let them do their thing. But very simple things like that would, over, let's say, the next 5 years, make housing very, very simple. And we're already doing it in certain cities like Houston.
Yeah. Definitely get it with the housing market. And I understand what you're saying with rent controls lead to fixed costs. The landlord then at that point it's not profitable enough for them to maintain it. So they head to crime to get a fake insurance claim. So while I understand that that's where the incentive is for the landlords, I don't think that that's necessary. If the results of your policy is, okay, I'm just going to do something criminal to get out of it, I don't think that's necessarily a fault of the policy as opposed to a fault of the person.
Of course it's a fault of the policy. So I want you to imagine.
I feel like we should be more mad at the arsonist and not mad at the person whose rents are lower.
You should be mad at the arsonist because it's illegal, but
Okay.
you should also recognize that the government put them in that position. And I would bet dollars to donuts if I described a scenario where, let's say that your mom had bought a house and her whole life was like, when I get to 65, I'm going to retire. I'm going to move to a really small apartment near my son. And I'm counting on the rent that I'm going to be able to get from that house. And my upkeep on the house with property taxes and maintenance and all of that, let's say is $1,700 a month. And then the government comes along and says, you can't charge more than $1,500 a month for that apartment. Now your mom's like, hold on a second. Now I'm losing money every month with no hope of ever making it.
Or you can sell the building.
Okay, now who's going to buy the building when I say you can't make money? You will lose money. And so now your mom is like, I don't own the building. I only own an apartment. But if she did own the building, she's going to say, no one's going to buy this. So you just tanked the value of my real estate because anybody even considering buying this building is going to ask, can I make money off of maintaining it, off of the property taxes? And if the answer is no, she's left holding a building that she literally can't sell. That's what happens. And now, remember, this is your mom who for 30 years paid into this building with a plan for how she was going to retire. And then somebody says you can't charge what the market is willing to pay. And now your mom's entire plan for the rest of her life is just over. She can't sell the building. And now she's looking at it going, I have to get the money out of that. Otherwise, I'm going to be working until the day that I die. And this is where people get put into desperate situations. Now, I'm not saying that your mom is a good person if she burns the building down, but I am saying I get why one day late at night, she's like, well, that is an option.
Yes. Okay.
And by the way, I love your mom. So even though she's thinking about burning that building down, God bless her.
I understand. I think this is the part where we kind of disconnect. This is my stop where I kind of get off with you, is that I understand when we play this out 20 years from now, how this can happen, how this can break bad, how this can flip into negative situations. I understand that the way to fix housing is to increase more housing. I think New York is in a very specific place because it is a landlocked island. There are running out of spaces. They'll have to demolish things, build more high rises. I've never seen a high rise more affordable than a 6-unit duplex. So a lot of times those people get priced out anyway, and then affordable just becomes a sliding term in the negative direction for the people who actually want to get on the property ladder, who want to have the apartment. So housing, I think, is a different bucket here. Even the grocery store thing, I can kind of take that point and see is at a different bucket. But with something like this bus system that he's already saying, I see the math working out. I see that we're giving more subsidies than what it would cost to run a bus for a year. So to me, it's like, okay, if we just
I have not been able to follow what your thinking is on housing. So the way to make housing more affordable is to make more housing. You have come up with a narrative that we can't build up, which I totally reject wholeheartedly.
I'm just saying when we build up, especially in New York City, you've never seen a high rise that's more affordable than the unit that it replaces.
So now your beef is I don't want there to be places like Beverly Hills that poor people, they just can't afford this neighborhood. Is that what you're saying?
That's all of Manhattan.
Fine.
So you're saying it's fine that they can't afford it?
Yes, of course I'm saying it's fine they can't afford it.
Okay, so then but I thought the problem was housing affordability.
Yes, of course. You don't have a right to live in whatever neighborhood you want to live in. What I'm saying is stop artificially making it impossible for people to live somewhere that it's the government regulation is making it impossible. For instance, stop freezing rents. Because if building a building in Manhattan was lucrative, then a whole bunch of people would do it. And if a whole bunch of people were doing it and renovating these buildings and knocking them down and building new things with more tenants, it's going to become more affordable. Now, if in doing that, the wealthiest people in America are like, actually, I want to migrate to the city. Yes, it is very possible that given that that is just a fixed, finite piece of land, that the wealthiest people are going to keep pouring in. But my instinct is that isn't going to be true.
It's the number one city in the world, arguably.
Right, but are you trying to regulate who can and can't come there? I don't understand.
I'm not regulating who can and can't come
You
here.
can,
But I think we can't compare Houston to New York City because I think the demand to live in New York City is way higher than the demand to live in Houston.
Oh, sure, but that doesn't touch any of the fundamental mathematics.
Yes, it does, because it's a supply-demand curve, and I think that demand is way higher than it would be in Houston. So
correct.
And
so
the supply is fixed.
We have to get to where you contend with one simple fact. If you are saying no neighborhood should ever be able to be out of reach of, and I don't know if you'd say anyone, but are you saying every neighborhood should have low income housing?
I have not said that, no.
Perfect. Then now you're just into what you just said a minute ago, which is there will always be a supply and demand problem when Manhattan is of finite size. What I'm saying is the free market is going to lower the prices. It's not going to take them up. Regulation is going to take them up. It's not going to lower them. So I'm saying, yeah, it's possible that an area just becomes so desirable for a whole host of reasons that take the Hollywood Hills, for instance. The Hollywood Hills are always going to be more expensive because they have a view. And there's just always going to be a certain type of person that's going to be willing to pay for that view. So limited amount of hills. And so
no matter how many additional units we try to build on the Hollywood Hills, we are going to reach the upper threshold.
Yeah, exactly.
We ran out of hills.
Right. But I'm saying if you want to lower it as much as you can, then you would deregulate as much as is safe. I'm not saying you take it to zero. And then if you're going to put limitations on it, put limitations of habitation. So I get a regulation that says you can only own a house here if you actually live in it at least 51% of the time or whatever. And then it's like, oh, cool. Yeah. Now you're going to find out when it is single family ownership, single family dwellings, what becomes the price. And then if that price is just, it's too high, there's so many people that can afford that place and want to live in that place. Well, Manhattan is just more or less off limits for anybody that's making less than whatever, $350,000 a year. Okay, great.
I understand the A to Z of what that laid out, but the end results of that policy would be, this is just how much it is. Either you got it or you don't.
Correct.
It's like you're at the bar. It's like
Dude,
the
that's
club.
always going to be the case.
You got to cover.
You can't own a house on a minimum wage job. It's just not going to be possible.
So with that kind of on the table, I understand that. I can get the A's and Z's of it. I understand the economics of it. Now enter Mamdani, who's saying there are people who are quote unquote residents of New York, who are born in New York, who are now getting priced out of this same thing because the demand is too high, because the prices are rising, because New York is the number one city in the world, because people are still flooding in. They are getting priced. So what he's saying is, I'm going to artificially hold this amount of units just so that way I can help those specific people.
Yep. And if it worked, I'd cheer for it. It doesn't work. It goes the exact opposite direction. It will make a housing crisis. It will make it so that nobody wants to invest in the area. And more people.
But the thing is, there's rent controlled units now. There's people who still want to live in New York. New York does not have a vacancy problem. So it's one of those things that I guess this is a values problem. So I think we could talk about housing.
But you have to tell me what the end result is that you want to get to.
Drew personally understands how the economics are working. The reason I'm trying to argue Mamdani's point is because I think a lot of times when we talk about him on the show, it becomes, oh, that's a socialist. And we kind of minimize like what
Drew,
he's trying to do.
Mamdani's policy is full retard. It is so ignorant to how economies work that the very thing I'm screaming for is for people to just follow the math. So if you follow the math, you realize if you make it impossible for business to run, then business stops running. Business is how you get affordable homes in anywhere. And he's breaking that equation. We've run this scenario before, not only here, but all over the world. It doesn't work sometimes. It literally never works.
But we're doing that now, though. And that's the thing that I think.
Drew, literally hear yourself. You're saying, hey, New York is totally fucked. It's totally broken. And we're already running his policy. That's my fucking point, is even now, when you have some small amount of it going on, it hasn't solved shit, because what it does is it tells investors, don't invest here.
Okay, I think I get. Let me articulate it because I think this is what we're having. So let's call it a pizza pie, right? So if we had this pizza pie, and we said, out of all this pizza pie, everybody can come get a slice, whatever. Whoever's hungry, come get a slice. There's 8 slices. There's 10 people in a circle. What I think Mamdani is doing is saying, okay, out of these 8 slices, I'm going to hold 1 slice, and I'm going to artificially hold that slice. You can fight over the other 7. The other 7 can be as expensive and as high as you want, but let's hold this 1 slice for this particular type of person.
This is so great. Do you already understand how everyone is going to starve to death in your scenario?
No, I understand that 3 people are going to starve to death and they're going to move to New Jersey, which is what all
how
New
many
Yorkers are doing.
people are standing outside this restaurant begging for a piece of pizza? And they're all going to die.
But
because
because what I'm confused is you don't see the circular of the argument. Is that what we're saying is, okay, let's remove regulations, take out rent control, and let the free market do it. If the free market makes New York City unaffordable, then now the people that
makes it unaffordable for some.
So, and what I'm saying is he's trying to artificially cap it for those people.
And it won't work.
But it is.
Drew, you have to understand.
It's working currently.
Bear with me. It's not working currently, which is why everyone's complaining. So here's what I really hope I can use your analogy to get you to see the gap that we're not seeing. You've put a scenario where we have a pizza and we're like trying to figure out who to give it to. And what I'm saying is what you need is for the pizza restaurant to be profitable, because then it can just keep making pizza after pizza after pizza after pizza.
But we can't make house after house after house, specifically in Manhattan.
A, you can, and B, you will hit a point where you can't anymore. Fine. Let's say that we reach the laws of physics. We can't build buildings any higher or whatever. And then we're still not able to get all the people into New York that we want to get, because it will terminate at some point.
Then you have NIMBYism, then you have people like Trump. And
but that's a separate problem. We have to take these one at a time. So let's address the first one first, and then we'll get to the second one. The first one is you must build a self-sustaining economic engine. How do I know? Because China just kept killing its own people until it finally was like, fuck, okay, we have to build a self-sustaining economic engine. And in doing so, in allowing people to be selfish, in reducing regulations, in decentralizing control, they pulled more people out of poverty faster than any country ever in all of human history. Okay? Like just full stop. So we've seen that, and that's but one example. We see it over and over and over and over and over and over and over all throughout history. I'll say one sentence why you can't get people to work for free. Because you can't get them to work for free, everything in the chain has to be profitable. The second everyone will work for free, it works fine. But no one works for free. So you're stuck. It has to be a self-sustaining economic engine. Okay, so now that's the first part. You've got to turn this into something that is actually profitable, to keep it upkept, to keep new investment, to keep people building, all of that. Okay, now at some point, well, first, do you have any pushback on that?
No.
Okay. The second part, which you've rightly identified, is, well, Tom, at some point that terminates, and there are going to be people who want to live there and they can't. And Mamdani's whole point is, dude, I'm trying to make this affordable for the people who want to live there and can't. And what I'm saying is there are no solutions in life. There are only trade-offs. And when you have somewhere like Manhattan, which is very confined, so there's only so much space, the tensile strength of steel is only so high, so you can only build things so tall. And so there will ultimately be a limitation of how many people can be there. And it's possible, though I would say extremely unlikely, it's possible that you get to the point where there are just a ton of people that want to live there and they can't afford it. So let's assume that's true, because it's harder to deal with. So if that's true, what I'm saying is that will always be true. And there will always be disparate outcomes, because the only way to equalize everybody is to equalize them at zero. And so because money is essentially, were you able to turn your time into value to somebody else who therefore is willing to give you money? So it's proof of work, right? We've talked about this a bunch. If you think of it as like proof of value, you might even get closer. So it's like there are some people that are extraordinarily good at generating value with their time. You can, it's not exactly this, but you can shorthand it to intelligence. So if we can agree that the world has a very, very uneven distribution of intelligence, there is always going to be an uneven distribution, or maybe keep it off that, an uneven distribution of effectiveness at all things in life. Cool. Then we know there's always going to be an unequal distribution. So there will always be somewhere, Manhattan, Beverly Hills, on and on and on, places where it's like, yep, not everybody is going to be able to afford to live there. And that just is what it is. And so then the question becomes, well, if I go in with regulations and I say, no, you're going to hold some number of these things at a low rent, that way people can get in. And what I'm saying is, if you do very little of that, you won't notice. The economy will more or less absorb those, but you are stressing the economy out. And the more you do it, the more you break it. And eventually you hit a snapping point and it tips over. But every bit of it was unhealthy. There was not a single amount of that was sustainable. And you are saying, I'm going to break the economic engine because I have an ideological, a moral belief that we must do this thing. And so even though it's going to cause problems, and even though it's going to mean fewer people are going to be able to afford it, I can pick the people for whom it's going to be affordable for.
Because I think the ideology in that scenario is, I would rather have 5% that I'm artificially holding the market for to allow them to afford it than to have 100%. Because I could speed run your whole argument just now. NYC is going to be too affordable. You're just going to have to move somewhere else.
Too unaffordable.
It's going to be too unaffordable.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. If you can't afford Manhattan, go to the Bronx. If you can't afford the Bronx, go to Jersey. If you can't afford Jersey, sorry, go to Atlanta. And that's where the flight and all these.
And so the only part that you're missing is, if you do what the economy is saying, a lot more people will be able to afford it than can afford it now. And so I don't get...
I specifically for New York, I disagree. I understand the economics of it, but I think the demand for New York City is so high, we're never going to feel it. LA is the same way.
Can you point to anything in all of human history that didn't grow cheaper over time through innovation?
Where is the innovation in rent prices? I've never, and New York City hasn't had a decline in rent in the last 20 years, 30 years?
Drew, and
since the 70s?
You know, the problem is regulation. The problem is not lack of innovation. So think about, this is how people would have responded to getting things into space before Elon Musk started SpaceX. Everyone said, this is a fool's errand, you can't do this. And what Elon said was, it doesn't violate the laws of physics, so I know it is possible. And so he did the thing everybody thought was impossible, and he's already driven the cost of launching things into space by like 90%. That's insanity. So I'm saying everything will come down in price. All of the material science that you need to build buildings, the actual process of building, robotics, all of that is going to drive the cost of construction way, 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 way down. And there are a lot of things that we can't even anticipate that could drive the cost of that down.
And then they're going to open up 100 new units, and everybody who's been on the wait list for the last 3 years are going to take
100%. And no one can make that problem go away. So I understand you. Let me say your position back to you so you know that I understand.
Yeah, I 100% know you understand me. I think the fundamental thing is, should we hold, quote unquote, should we artificially hold the market down for certain people? And I think when it comes to subsidies for businesses, we're okay with putting our thumb on the scale a little bit. When it comes to subsidies for international foreign aid, we put our thumb on a little bit.
Yeah,
when
but
it comes to certain housing, we don't put those thumb on it.
You're conflating my argument with a bad thing that other people do. All I'm trying to get people, remember, I'm the party of cause and effect.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to map out for everybody, this is what happens if you do these things. So if you say we're going to hold 5% of the property in Manhattan, it's going to be rent controlled. That just is what it is. And so then it's like, okay, if that's what the people want, then I go into how do we do that as well as it can be done? And I would say you've got to spread it out. You can't have any one building take on a ton of that burden, because that's how you make it unprofitable. And so if we just say, look, every building in Manhattan is going to be 5% less profitable, as long as they have more margin, I think it's bad. I think that you're making it harder for entrepreneurs to do what they want to do. But at least now we're in the realm of reality. We understand how it ends up breaking that self-sustaining economic engine, so we can dilute. It's like if you said, Tom, you have to pour 5% sugar into gas tanks, then it's like, okay, well, or if you said you have to pour this much sugar into gas tanks, I would say, let me spread it across as many gas tanks as humanly possible. And so there is a point at which if you keep pouring the sugar in, every car is going to break, but there's an amount of sugar that you could pour into gas tanks that will suck. It's not good for it, but it won't stop the car from running.
Let's meet halfway on this, right? I'll take your argument that every apartment can't be rent controlled. Heard, received. That's not what I'm pitching. My pitch is it worth artificially holding the market, quote unquote, down for 5% of units? 3%.
Now you're just
7%.
You're in values. So there'll be a math equation about where it breaks.
Yeah.
So you're making the system more fragile. So every bit of barnacle you put on the system where it isn't good for the economic engine, then it's just another bit of fragility.
And is that exchange of not good for the economic engine a little bit better if we are able to help more people? This is the same argument that people are using with the ACA, that although it's a little bit more expensive, there's 30 million people who can now have
not for me with my value system.
So 0%, you should just sink or swim.
0% you should sink or swim.
Got it. Okay.
Now,
I can agree. If it's that, I can agree with that because at least I see where the value's coming.
On housing.
On housing.
So what I'm saying is, there are things that I would vote for. Mm-hmm. There are things the world will vote for, and I'm perfectly willing to abide by what the world at large wants. But I don't have a problem with people. I don't have a problem with me not being able to afford a certain neighborhood. For the vast majority of my life, I couldn't afford Beverly Hills. So it's like, it gave me something to aspire to. Mm-hmm. I used to take my beat up car and drive around Bel Air, always afraid I was going to be arrested. And just look at the houses and be like, one day. So yeah, that I don't have any beef with that. Now, there are certain things, education, blah, 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 that I think we need to go ham on, but I think we need to let innovation drive housing costs as low as we can. And we are not, and therein lies your housing crisis.
I'm with you. I can agree that I think to sum it up, what we're saying is Tom thinks free market 100%. If you can't afford it, you'll just have to leave. And now I'm saying there should be a small percentage, 5, 3, 2%, whatever, that profits, landlords, whoever the economic drivers are, they should be able to take that penalty to pay into the system, that way they can reap their profit. So it's kind of like paying like a toll. Like, when you come into New York City.
Almost like taxes?
Almost like taxes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're already paying taxes.
I wonder where those taxes are going. I don't know. Let's look at some subsidies.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, okay, that's another one. The subsidies, I'm seeing a lot of Superchats come in, Mason, so please do jump in.
Yeah.
But the subsidies thing, I'd have to look into because I don't know what the deal is with the factory. But if Mamdani is really saying, we don't want to court business, there are things that people can say where my brain just flips. Like when Kamala Harris was talking about the controlling the prices at grocery stores, I was like, done. She can't, like, no way.
And for that argument, because I feel like I don't want that to get taken out of context. It's you incentivize a business by giving them a tax break so that way they can move their facility there. There'll be 1,000 people there who will shop at local businesses.
The amount of revenue that will be generated by a factory, every city should be falling over themselves to court big business. This is why I'm saying people are very confused. They do not understand the only reason there is a single tax dollar to be had to fund all of these wonderful things that we want to do is because of entrepreneurs. Full stop. There is nothing else. And I don't understand how people have gotten confused by that. But we've got this weird thing in society right now where business owners are vilified. And it's like everything that you're using, the phone that you're using to yell at me on is built by an entrepreneur, somebody that took a huge risk and poured their heart and soul into building something.
And to your point, they took that risk because it was profitable.
They took that risk because it was profitable. They hired people. Those people also paid taxes. Those people also worked their ass off. But it's like, it comes back to one thing. We build businesses, which is just specialization. So you can go back in the day. And there was one chick who was just really good at weaving the string that you were going to use for your bow. And there was another dude that was really good at chopping down the trees that was going to give you the wood for your bow. And so those people were like, well, rather than me have to make the whole bow, because the thing that I'm really good at is weaving the string. And the other guy was like, dude, I just want to cut down the trees. I don't even want to polish the shape of the bow. Like, let Timmy do that. And so they began to specialize. And Entrepreneurship is simply specialization. But at this point in human evolution, we start getting real specialized and you start making NVIDIA chips.
Two things. Vintage Soul said, NYC, please show up and vote red. Andrew Cuomo isn't a Republican. He's a Democrat. So that's a false narrative. And I feel like
the bad news is that, dude, anytime. So
what should we argue about next, chat?
You are such a respectful debater. I love it. And you push for your ideas. By the way, shout out to Ro Khanna. Ro, I don't think he had any idea who I was before we met. But man, he is very respectful, really eager to understand. So even though he and I could not be farther apart in terms of how to get where we want to go, my conversation with him was beyond enjoyable. So
and
super
to
grateful.
That point, he has legislation with Thomas Massey, who's a Republican, and AOC and Bernie, who are far left Democrats. So he's doing it across the board. So I love it.
Facts. All right. What do you got, Mason?
We've got the first one up from Thirsty Salt. Where I live, huge corporations are gobbling up single-family homes and constructing SFHs, purpose-built to...
Single-family homes.
Got it. Purpose-built to be rentals, which will never be owned by anyone. Mm-hmm. Could we make it illegal for corporations to purchase or rent out single-family homes?
Yeah, of course. We can make anything illegal we want. You can make speech illegal. Just ask the UK. So there is nothing. You could make food illegal, and they will. Meaning there will be certain foods, I promise you, if you guys let real IDs and CBDCs get passed, you're going to be at the grocery store one day and you're going to try to check out. You're going to have too much meat in your thing. It's going to trigger a green alert and they're going to be like, no, you can't have that. So yeah, brace yourself for that. This is all coming if we let it. So yes, we can make that illegal. Now, there are certain things. This is why I say I'm not a no regulation guy. If what we're finding, given the math that I've walked you guys through 1,000 times, if nobody's going to challenge that, then I will say we can all agree that debt causing money printing, causing inflation is the thing that has enslaved the youth. Enslaving the youth is a terrible fucking idea. Just from a pure national security, I don't want violence in the streets. It is a terrible idea. So, okay, then you just start asking yourself, how do we unwind that? What is the process of cause and effect that would allow us to unwind that? And if what we see is single family homes are being purchased by gigantic corporations, then it's like, don't do that. Put a regulation in place that says, yes, I'm messing with the free market because I have a belief that by disrupting the free market, it will give me an outcome that is better than the purely free market. Cool. And then do that thing and see what happens. If you do that thing and it's like, oh my God, all of a sudden people can actually afford homes. This is way better. They've got a shelter from inflation. Then it's like, yeah, that regulation was dope. The problem is people set and forget and they'll try something. It doesn't work and it just stays on the books for 200 years. It's stupid. But I have a feeling that we, at this point, start with the lightest touch. Start with just making it easy for people to build. Copy what they're doing in Houston. If that doesn't get us far enough, then start putting restrictions on who can actually buy the properties. I wouldn't start there, but my focus is you must look at what is the median income and can a person on a median income, can they actually afford a home? Doesn't have to be a luxurious home. It does not have to be a penthouse in Manhattan, but it needs to be a place that they can live and that they can own, more importantly, because assets.
Next up from J Sports Enthusiast. In 2023, brokerage data showed international buyers accounted for 32.4% of the city's investors in New York City, but that figure refers to share of investing activity rather than share of total property ownership.
Thank you for the information. I'm not surprised by that. So this is where the devil's going to be in the details. People need to figure out if we want to curb foreign investment. I don't know that we necessarily do, but we may want to do a progressive tax system. So you've got people where it's like, hey, your first house, everybody's on equal footing. Doesn't matter if you're foreign. Second house, though, if it's not going to be your primary residence, maybe you go from, in California, it's like 1.2% property tax. Maybe on your secondary residence, it goes to 3%. You're going to get real thoughtful about
and a lot more Letitia Jameses.
Yes.
Aunties and babies and grandmas are going to become property owners out of nowhere. You are 12 with a house already? But to your point, yes, that is a way to do it, though.
And you can just keep jacking it up. So by the time you get to your third, maybe it's 5%. By the time you get to your fourth, maybe you really fucking leap and it's 20%, whatever. And then it's like, okay, well, if the person wants to give us that kind of annual tax revenue, we'll take it. And there will be, just like in a video game, you have to like tweak all these variables until you get them just right. You tweak the variables until you're like, yeah, cool. Now people can actually afford homes. And we've got a bunch of tax revenue coming in from the people that want to own 2 and 3. I mean, you guys want to get all the money from the rich people. It's like, give them shit to buy. And then like when you start taxing their purchases, like you can actually start getting some of the wealth. But when people try to tax like actual wealth, where it's stored in a maybe format, that's where you start breaking the system. But doing things that is on consumption, cool. If the person wants to buy something, then they're going to get hit with a consumption tax.
Cool. Last one from DK the Sage. The problem comes from people rigging the game. They do so by either forming monopolies to snuff out any innovation or competition, or they use regulation to achieve the same result.
All true statements.
Regulatory capture.
Yeah. So your problem isn't capitalism. Your problem is distorted capitalism. All of the regulations that we have, all the regulatory capture, et cetera, et cetera. Therein lies your problem.
Sweet.
Cool. Ipso facto.
There it is.
All right, let's jump across the pond a bit. That's supposed to be for the UK, right? That's not just for like international. But okay, you guys get the point. Geez, my man. Trump had some bold words for Hamas after the executions in the street. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. I'm going to highlight the go in part. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah, it's the we will have to. That's where I'm like,
not y'all, not them, we.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's just being incautious with his words. Mm-hmm. And by we, he means Netanyahu. But I don't know that. He could be really saying some outlandish shit. Having U.S. boots on the ground is a hard pass for me.
They do have, I think they deployed 200 over there already to facilitate the peace deal. So it's light touch right now. But once you get one boot on the ground, it's not easy to add a couple more.
Yeah.
This is in response to breaking news that Gazans are pleading with the world to stop Hamas from continuing public executions.
Yeah, this is wild. And it really bothers me that people that have been banging pots and pans so loudly about what Israel's doing. And now that Hamas is literally just gunning people down, shooting them in the back of the head in groups, in the street, filming it, posting it, the whole nine. Mum's the word. Mum's the word. It's like, oh God, I really, like, that is so icky, man. That's so icky.
Some people are saying, and this is literally under the post, once I seen it, I was like, oh, this is cool. Then I kind of started heading down. There are all these independently funded militias that were anti-Hamas.
Yeah.
Now that Hamas has the peace deal, those anti-Hamas militias are trying to make a move, take over, and that's the infighting, so kind of a civil war of militias. However, Netanyahu did admit in a BBC article, I believe dated last year, that they did fund anti-Hamas militias in order to try to start like an insurrection, uprising from within. So I'm not sure how much of this is just people who are trying to do a power grab because the vacuum seems like it's forming.
It really becomes a question of, do we care about their motives or do we just care about the end result? Because the reality is, if you've got people being slaughtered and you give them weapons so they can defend themselves, I think we all agree that's a good thing. This is why people say, yeah, let Ukraine fight, like give them weapons, let them stand up for themselves. I don't think, other than people don't like that we're paying for it, and I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But like, don't you want to see people be able to defend themselves if somebody attacks them? So if you've got people living under the tyrannical rule of a terrorist regime and they're like, please, Jesus, I'm not even asking you to come in here, just give us weapons and let us fight. Don't we want that? Now, I totally understand anyone's perspective, and I would even agree with it, that Netanyahu is going to be like, this is great. Let them like kill each other. Let them fight. Like, let them civil war all day. Like 100% we'll support that. He's never going to say that publicly. But in his heart of hearts, like if I was in a blood feud with somebody and they started like tearing themselves apart, admittedly, I'd be like, yeah, good, finally. So I don't expect him to not have that sentiment. But I still think it's good that they're able to defend themselves, because holy hell, seeing the footage of the people being executed is gnarly.
With this thing escalating, would that change your boots on the ground narrative, or is it no situation, no?
Bro, you just can't.
You just gotta let Israel boss up and do their own thing.
At some point, you just have to say, like, it is a humanitarian tragedy that we'll try to help in terms of helping Israel by supplying weapons. If those weapons are also going to supply militia inside, great. Want nothing but the best. But given the amount of tragedy the world over, like we're not even talking about Nigeria. Like, how many Christians are being slaughtered in Nigeria? Something like 500,000 in the last year.
I think that was since 2000. That might be. I think that was over a longer period of time.
How long?
2009.
Oh, that's horrifying. So
still horrifying.
Fair, not a year. Thank you. Appreciate the fact check. But like, if I told you that 500,000 people
that's wrong,
had been murdered in America since 2009, thank you, Satan, from being clipped out. However, that is still absolutely mortifying. So yeah, that's where I'm like, this stuff is all over the place. So us going around trying to broker peace, us throwing our weight around a bit, sure. But us having boots on the ground in Ukraine, in Israel, no, hard pass.
All right. Well, then let's bring it over to Venezuela, where Trump defended his use of missiles on the what he's calling the narco-terrorist boats that are going back and forth. This is on the back.
We're just blowing them up.
Yeah, this is on the back. The last one had 2 Trinidadian residents, and they were fishermen. I put fishermen in quotes because they can't speak for themselves now. We don't know. We don't see them. We didn't stop them over or anything. So a reporter asks, well, instead of just blindlessly blowing them up, what if we actually pulled them over, arrested them, and gave them the actual due process? This was Trump's response.
On Venezuelan boats, I want to ask you, why not have the Coast Guard stop them, which it is empowered by law to do? This way you can confirm who's on the boat and ensure that they're doing what you suspect.
Because we've been doing that for 30 years, and it has been totally ineffective.
Not wrong about that.
They have faster boats. Some of these boats are seriously, they're world-class speedboats, but they're not faster than missiles. But we've been trying to do that for years, and so much of
you were ready for that.
25-30% would come in through the seas. Right now we have, I would say, none coming in through the seas. In fact, I don't know about the fishing industry. If you want to go fishing, a lot of people aren't deciding to even go fishing.
A lot of people are not even deciding to go fishing.
Yeah. What a shock. Hey,
might get their boat blown up.
People keep getting missiled to death. I don't think that's the place that I want to go fishing. Yeah. I am so surprised.
So I feel like these are very 2 different tactics, where Israel, we're like, hey, we'll give you a bunch of bombs, but that don't got nothing to do with us. We're here. We're droning them from literally countries away. How's your Venezuela take? How do you think about this aggressive action at the very minimum? I'm not going to call it right or wrong, but I will say it's aggressive.
This is one of those that I have a feeling as I look more closely at it, I'm going to form a different opinion. But my opinion right now is that while it will be an effective deterrent for that one type of way that people are getting drugs into the country, that is not going to stop drugs from coming into the country. I have not done, again, a big enough audit of this to figure out like what the right way is to approach this kind of drug problem. But playing this fast and loose with due process, I don't think is the play. You've got to be way more certain. So yeah, I don't like that we are missiling boats that are headed this way. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and then there's been talk of us moving more bombers and increasing our military presence in the country. And even one of the Venezuelans reps went to the UN and has accused America of war crimes because of this. Again, they're just saying that we're indiscriminately bombing fishermen, we're bombing citizens without the due process. Is there a certain level of caution we should take? Or do you think, I guess what it really comes down to is our gut, our intelligence that bulletproof that we can do this to countries that don't
no
seem
way.
to be...
You're going to have collateral damage.
Yeah.
That is for sure. So it just becomes a question of, is this really the big thing that we have to do? Is this really the most effective deterrent that we can do? You are definitely taking a moral hit from where I'm standing. Mm-hmm. You are certainly going to take an international reputation hit, but you're also going to establish yourself as being willing to take action. And so people are going to understand very clearly that Trump is not afraid of using force. He's just not. And so you can hate it all you want, but there will be that upside protection of when people talk about why wouldn't Putin have invaded Ukraine when Trump was in office? And the answer is Trump is rightfully read as being erratic, meaning very unpredictable, and he is willing to use force. So he's got plans to get out. Like, he hasn't put us in a position like with Iran where people were afraid, I think, that he was like going to put boots on the ground. He was never going to do that. That does not seem in keeping with Trump. But he wasn't afraid to drop a whole lot of bunker busters to get rid of it. So it is a mixed bag. This is not an only up phenomenon, but it's also not an only down phenomenon. I don't like it. I don't think it has enough due process. I think you run the risk of just becoming way too cavalier with violence. But at the same time, there is the other side of that coin, which is people will think twice before they start threatening Trump. And on a world stage where the only thing that matters is what can you back up, there's a reason that the guy in Europe was calling Trump Europe's daddy.
Yeah. So then this is the breakdown from Ground News. On Thursday, Venezuelan's UN Ambassador Samuel Moncada condemned a recent U.S. strike on a small boat in Caribbean waters that killed 6 people, the 2 fishing in for Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to skip to the last paragraph. Earlier this year, the U.S. shifted defense priorities to the Caribbean, with Puerto Rico providing key infrastructure, while Nicolas Maduro accuses Washington of seeking regime change, and the strikes heightened regional tension. So,
I mean, that just seems like when you try to play this out, okay, if I'm writing and he's a character, what would need to be true? This really does feel like regime change.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Venezuela to know what exactly they want. He offered them deals on oil. They didn't go for it. So whatever the access to resources were that they had to offer, they don't want. So, or they don't trust him. I don't know. I'm not sure what their end game is with this, but the fact that they're sending that kind of military hardware down into that area while rejecting offers from him, while blowing up ships, while calling him, did he call him a terrorist, a narco state leader? So it's like all the rhetoric, all the moves say that he either wants some massive just back down concession of some kind, or because I believe they're either supplying weapons or money to some of the rival factions. They just want to destabilize his country.
There's been 5 lethal attacks with 27 deaths since September. Speculation is that it's like an oil play, but to your point, I think it's more conspiracy theory than like us being grounded in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, the only thing that makes a lot of sense to me would be, okay, they have a known person that they want to get into office. Mm-hmm. They want a soft coup, not hard coup. So they don't want a CIA agent pulling the trigger, but they want the trigger pulled. I think they have a $50 million bounty on his head, Chad, if you can confirm that. Mm-hmm. But so they've got a bounty on Maduro's head. They're sending all this hardware down there. So if they wanted regime change, they had a guy that they think is going to be the guy that will replace him, and that guy is friendly to America. Better to have a regime that's just flat friendly to America. And then if I put that in conjunction with the way that they're moving with Javier Milei, there's a path of logic in Trump's mind. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think the reason that they're bailing out Milei is that they think, okay, this is a guy that really understands the economic game, that really understands capitalism. We love him. We want to see him do well. We certainly want to be able to point to them and say, see, our system works. And so they're giving him the help that he needs to get over whatever hurdle to have a success story. Then if they see something similar in this guy that I'm totally making up, by the way, I have no idea if this is real, but if there's a guy that would replace Maduro, that would be more of the same. It's like, yes, okay, good. We're getting capitalists. We want to help turn around South America. Like, we want South America to thrive. Because I really think the right way to map Trump is he wants to do deals everywhere. He wants those trade dollars flowing. He wants to get us away from China. Mm-hmm. He's going to need a region. So you've got right now China and America basically competing for the love of South America and Africa. And so it's like, you can get why if he believed there was a guy that was going to be way better for Venezuela as a whole, we can go do all this, show that he has no legitimacy, get the coup to happen on their terms, get great deals with those guys, trade in a way that's mutually beneficial, now have 2 economic mirrors to the American system down in South America with Argentina and Venezuela, show them creating all this massive opportunity for their people. Everything is going great. Boom. We've got the justification for our way of life playing out over there. And we're able to now start pulling away from China.
Okay. Debate time. Isn't it a little bit interesting that we're putting our finger on the scale when it comes to geopolitics, where we're trying to install a coup over there to a country that, I'm going to be honest, I don't know no Venezuelans. I don't got no beef with Venezuelans. Venezuelans didn't make my house more affordable. Venezuelans didn't make my rent go up. So why are we kind of starting this beef over there when we should have our resources and focus over here? I understand the Argentina of it all. If we can get more countries that cooperate with us, that would be a net positive. But it seems like this is a Trump priority, and I don't necessarily know what the ramifications for the U.S. would be in the end game.
Yeah, I think these systems are so complicated. These things almost always go badly. This is probably a terrible idea. He's probably using the whole drug thing as an excuse to try to get somebody else that's American friendly there. Now, I will say, if you had somebody America friendly and they were running a strong capitalist economy, the more people you have like that in every country, the better off that you're going to be. Like, I really think that would be better for them. I think it would be better for us. But we really tried that in the 20th century. It just doesn't work. Like, democracy doesn't spread like that. Capitalism doesn't spread like that. People are either wanting it, they're ready for it, but you can't force it from the top down. It really does have to come from the bottom up. So while I get the impulse, I think it is probably an absolutely terrible idea. But he's got to get economic wins. Like, he's got to be able to start decoupling us from China. He's not going to say those words, but you absolutely must do it. From where I'm sitting, I can talk all day long about Thucydides' trap. They can't control all the manufacturing, yada, yada. There's going to be a ton of turmoil in the future coming between U.S. and China. Play this on an endless loop as that starts happening. And so if he's just essentially trying to diversify, again, I get the impulse. I just don't think it's going to work like that. I think nations are far too complicated. I think it would be far wiser to put his time and energy into the West and say, all right, England, Belgium, France, Italy, you guys are a fucking mess. Let's start getting it together, because from a historical context, a cultural context, we have so much more in common. We're much more likely to be able to win them over, to have shared alliances that you're just sort of rekindling rather than trying to flip them. I think if he was trying to back them off of like a green agenda to get them more like, hey, let's get some oil trading, let's get away, let's make sure that you guys can get your energy costs down, let's make sure that we move you guys away from Russia, the US, we're going to become a powerhouse. I think we focus inward. I think we start manufacturing our own rare earth elements. It's my understanding that America has one of the largest deposits of rare earth elements, but for environmental reasons, we don't want to mine our own stuff. I think them days is over. I think we have put ourselves in an insanely weakened position with China. And so I think that it is a, I don't want to say existential threat, but it's a really, really risky situation that we're in right now with China, where they are the people that you are most likely to find yourself in open conflict with, and they can cut you off. And there's such a raging debate, man. I encourage all of you guys, and we should probably start covering this more. Hopefully there's a deep dive in here somewhere. But there's a raging debate as to whether China is like on the brink of collapse or what?
They're doing
like
great.
China's there. Oh my God, never been better. So I see very credible people on both sides of that argument. And so we're about to find out, but you just cannot leave ourselves in the position that we're in right now. And people are always like quick to be mad at Trump for the fluctuations in the stock market. But I think the thing that people are really hunkering down on, which is why gold is skyrocketing, is they can see there's nothing but money printing as far as the eye can see in the future. And yes, I am hyper aware that we had a surplus in September, but there are a whole host of reasons why. Do not get your hopes up based on that.
We had a surplus last September too.
It happens almost
year-end.
every September.
It's a
So
year-end,
people are
counting
getting a little too hyphy on that. So we know that the money printing is just going to continue as far as the eye can see. But I also think anybody paying attention sees that the rest of the world is also pulling back. They're pulling back from dollars, getting into gold. if there is massive instability between us and China, that's going to be even more money printing for the two biggest economies because they'll have to do it as well. And so we both have these money printing debt problems, real estate problems. Theirs is far worse than ours. But like you just have people that are economically literate looking at the situation going, there's a lot of question marks. And where do people go in times of question marks? They're going to go to gold for sure, maybe Bitcoin. We'll see if that ends up playing out or if that's still a tech stock. But yeah.
All right. I'm going to throw two things on the table for you. All right. Friend of the show, Mike Benz, came and told us all the evils about U.S. aid. Elon Musk high-fived everybody. USA, we have to do it. We have to spend. We're wasting too much money with U.S. aid. It's a waste of money. The total U.S. aid budget was $35 billion. Trump has now announced that he's doubling the bailout to Argentina to $40 billion. So it seems like foreign aid is okay when it comes to specific economies. I'm going to put that dot right there. I want your opinion on that. Tony Howard in the chat was like, so you talk about rent control bad, but bailout Trump, kiss ass, good capitalism. Wow, what are you saying? I'm going to translate that into...
Please?
Yeah, I'm going to translate that into saying we have a problem when we put our thumb on the scale, when it helps people people locally, people in America, but globally, we can subsidize this over here. We can come up with 40 billion over here. We can come up with 40, so it seems that
I really think the big problem the chat has is they will often confuse me explaining what's happening with me saying this is what should happen.
Oh, explaining what condoning.
I just walked you through what's probably happening, not what I think should happen.
Got you.
That's okay? Everybody all right? It's Friday.
Okay.
You're gonna be fine.
So in general, with all the Doge cuts and the things that we celebrated, now with us doubling this bailout and things like that, do you think that this is because they could be a potential economic partner in the future, we should take this bailout? So to you, this is like seed funding, venture funding for an upcoming business.
I would have to know what's going on. Yeah. So I don't know nearly enough about what would be on the other side of Argentina winning that would make it worth. And I believe that this is coming from the IMF. So it's not coming directly from us, though much of the IMF funding is us. I'm not blind to that.
Yeah.
So that becomes a question. What am I getting for this? It is a gamble. It is almost certainly, listen, man, at this point in our lives, it is almost certainly you just cannot, like full stop, you can't do any of this.
Yeah.
But the bad news is that's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for the world. Like you don't want Argentina to fall. But because America is so weak right now, like you can't keep printing money. You can't. Like my default answer, like if you want to know what does Tom think about this, will it make us print more money? Yes. I don't want to do it. But Tom, it's going to like whatever. It's going to save England. Yeah, sorry. I got a whole bunch of family there. You can't do it. If it's going to make us money print, you can't do it. It is immoral. Yeah. So, yeah.
A couple people are saying that there's a chat. Ducci Jones, I think, was the first one to say they want DUCCI. We're making Argentina the Israel of South America. Like that's going to be kind of our proxy in that region.
Like it's our boy. Like we're just going to keep giving them ducats.
Yeah, we're going to hook them up. We're going to.
Yeah, I mean that there is certainly internal logic to that argument for sure.
Yeah.
Now, America needs to stop printing money. Stop printing money. You have enslaved your own children. Stop printing money. I really wish that that's one of those phrases that could actually hit people. We have enslaved our own children.
Well, people aren't even having kids. So it's like, fuck them kids mentality right now.
That's so interesting. I've gone the exact opposite direction. Because I don't have kids, America's like my only kids. So I'm like, I'm starting to feel some kind of way about it. Like I actually feel emotional right now. So look, I get it. I know how to run sort of an emotional cycle on things so I can build attachment to it. But fighting for kids, partly because I don't have kids, feels really awesome. And it makes me feel very connected to the next generation. And so I am just absolutely befuddled that people go, well, as long as I got mine. Like we have evolutionary algorithms that run in our brain that are so, maybe roll a dice. Maybe I just got an extra helping of this, but that evolutionary algorithm runs really hard for me. Like what's going to live beyond you. And so having the thought of like, ha ha, well, I got all mine and fuck all y'all. Like that is weird. I don't get it.
All right. Rounding out our international discussion, Candace Owens has been denied entry to Australia over concerns she could incite discord in the community. when I personally read this, I laugh because to me, this is the Bob villain. This is the you said something about Charlie Kirk. We removed your visa. So I feel like Australia's like, all right, well, we don't want another we don't want you coming at our PM's wife saying that she's a dude. So
no beef. Every country should be able to keep me out of their country if that's what they want to do. Every country should be able to keep out Candace Owens. Yep. If you don't like somebody, like, fuck them. Don't give them a visa. I've got no beef with this. So now who you reject from coming into your country says something about you. So as long as you feel good about what you're standing 10 toes down on, great. No problem. No problem. And listen, Candace is fascinating. And from an interest perspective, I won't even demean it by calling it entertainment. From an interest perspective, she says things that are wild and they are very interesting. And so I have found myself, I've engaged with plenty of Candace Owens content, but a lot of it from where I'm sitting is completely unhinged and unhinged in a way where it's like, you got to slow down. Like, you got to slow down. You need to have like an image in your head of Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia at the board, hair crazed. You know what I mean? Like, at some point you got to be like, wow, I'm really finding patterns everywhere. And so, yeah, I mean, hopefully this community knows that I have a healthy distrust of myself. And so when I see people who have Michael Saylor, Candace Owens, people that just have, they don't doubt themselves one bit. Every alarm bell I have goes off. I'm just like, oh God, life has not taught me that humans can see the world that clearly. This machine is so complicated. It's so complicated. And I love it. Like, it's a turn on when you see somebody that's like, I fucking know. I love to see it. Like, dude, early Ye was wild. It was so cool to see somebody that believed in themselves that much. But then eventually they come to a cliff and people are screaming, it's a cliff, it's a cliff, it's a cliff. And they just can't stop themselves.
It was that Grammy speech. Like, they always say, what would happen if I didn't win a Grammy? I guess we'll never know. And then he walks out with his...
It's so gangster. We all, like, it is very sexy. The problem is that this is how those people flame out. Like, Candace is either going to be broke forever like Alex Jones, or triumphant in a way that will be unbearable.
Like, France is going to be hers if she beats this case.
Yeah,
Like,
basically.
I'm walking
There's
around.
nothing in the middle.
I'm going to be the Arc de Triomphe, taking selfies. Like,
There's nothing.
I'm going to be sending dildos to the PM's house. It's going bad. Like, you can stun on them now. I beat your president in court. You can't tell me nothing.
Drew, hold on. I've got to share a fantasy with you now. Okay, I'm getting really into TCG, which is trading card games. And because I love collecting, I have that thing. And so I've started fantasizing about doing collecting cards for the lives, for our whole ecosystem. That would be one of them. I'm sending dildos to the PM. That's going on a card, everybody. That is going on a card. Right. Let's go.
Speaking of people who trust themselves too much, Nick Fuentes is on a run, bro. Hate him or love him, from the PBD to Candace Owens, Dave Smith. He just did Alex Jones, and Spotify allowed him back on the charts. Immediately shot to number one, and then he got banned.
Pause. Like, he was on there for a week, and he went to number one.
He beat Tucker. He beat Candace. He beat Joe Rogan. He beat Amy Poehler, who's just, her podcast is so wholesome. She don't even be in politics. Like, he leapfrogged everybody.
Hold on. People need to really sit with this for a minute.
Yeah.
There is so much pent up animosity, resentment from young white people. I really don't like to make it about race.
Even though Nick is technically half Mexican, but we could call him white.
You sure
his name is
Spanish? I think it's Spanish.
Oh,
I think. I don't know much about him, but
I feel like it's Mexican.
Maybe.
Same thing with Raphael. He told us to call him Ted, so we just sweep that under the rug. But yeah,
sweet. Like, man, be your thing. But anyway, so that. Oh God, what's his name? Douglas Murray wrote a book called it was either In the Madness of Crowds or The Strange Death of Europe. I don't remember which one, but he gives this sort of very rousing speech in the book where he says, "I'm warning you now, do not force white people to see themselves as a group and then back them into a corner. You will not like the response." And it was one of those, I think people sort of brushed it off. And it's like, dude, that's the physics of the human psyche. If you, and in fact,
let's go there.
Ladies,
let's go there.
Ladies, I love you. I really love you. But I'm telling you right now, you spent a lot of years backing men into a corner. You're going to see a very similar kind of whiplash backlash. There are some interesting articles coming out.
You read the Great Feminization one?
Did.
I was trying to figure out how to put it in the show, but I was flabbergasted.
We'll get there. In this community, we have to talk about it. So anyway, he represents the young white male that people thought they could just browbeat for a decade plus and that there would be no backlash. How fucking stupid are people? So you reap what you sow. So here we go. So we went to number one, and then I stepped on your punchline, and then got promptly banned.
Yeah. Shout out to Marusha. He did confirm Fuentes is half Mexican. So
like the plot thickens.
But I say this like to laying it out there. Like we joke about Candace Owens if she beats the case, whatever like that. But to Candace's point, I put her in a different box because it's conspiracy land. This is connected to this. Everybody's out to get you. Deep state, we're going against it. The thing that makes me nervous with Nick is I understand the fuck it. I'm going to push the line. You can't box me in. If you say I can't say something, I'm going to say it. If you say I can't do something, I'm going to do it. And that hubris is good. I like hubris. We shouldn't be pent up. You should be able to kind of say it with your whole chest. However, there is a faction. It could be 2%. It could be 1%. It could be a small percentage of people. They're going to say, yeah, I can do whatever I want. And then they're going to break bad. And we're going to have a lot more Tyler Robinson-esque attacks. That's my fear. And I think that I never want to say censor somebody. I never want to say put a lid on somebody. But where is that line of I'm going to incite people with is like, it's my responsibility to figure out how to curb it is the wrong word. But how do we balance that?
Well, I think the sad reality is that the price for freedom is eternal vigilance. And so you're going to have to let people say what they're going to say. All of this is the result of them not letting people say what they had to say, and it makes it bigger. Because remember, Nick Fuentes was relentlessly censored, debanked. I mean, people really went hard after this kid, trying to make it impossible for him to make a living.
And he's like 23 or something. Yeah, he's super young. I don't know if it's 23, but yeah.
Somewhere between 23 and 26, for sure. He's not older than 26.
Yeah.
Spotify lets him on for a week and he shoots to number one. Remember, it doesn't work. If there is a message that resonates with people and there's a spokesperson that really has the goods, you're not going to make it go away. And so you're going to give it credibility by relentlessly pursuing this kid. I think it's just a huge mistake. And so Spotify now is just making that mistake again. So we'll see where he pops up next time. But all these platforms like doing I've aggregated the network, so we're going to keep this kid quiet. It just won't work. You can slow it down, which is why they keep doing it, but you're not going to make it go away. You have to reconcile with the issue. You have to reconcile with the issue. Truth Devin says he's 27.
Yep,
so I'm wrong about he can't be more than 26. Apparently he can.
Zamboni says he's like Drew. He's 54. Nailed it.
There it is. There it is. He looks great for the age. So yeah, that I would say is the problem here.
Is there? Because this is the populism of it all. And I swear, Tom, there's that meme of like, I've missed the old world before I figured out how it worked. Like there was an improv group that I was a part of. And when I say there was an insurrection inside the improv group, like these are creative liberals. Everybody wants socialism. Like no, there's not a conservative bone in their body, but there's an insurrection in that because it's like, well, what are you doing? Where's all the money going? How come we're not doing this? How come we're not doing this? And the people that made the biggest fuss aren't even the people that are now helping. They pushed out the leaders. And I was like, it's just, there's power grabs everywhere. And I'm starting to see this. And I feel like we're starting to point at things because we need a scapegoat. And when we start to need a scapegoat, that's when I start to get the Nazi wolves howling in my background of like, who can we blame? Who can we blame? And to Douglas Murray's point, when it's white people designating who to blame, it easily becomes everybody not like us. And not like us hugely traditionally meant not white. I think currently it'll be not conservative or not, this specific type of value set. But as America, do we just have to kind of ride this out and then put bandage on people on the other side? Is this something that Trump could give a bailout and everybody could be good for 2 more years and we can kick the can down the curb? How do we kind of ease the populist tension in the world?
There's only one way you have to fix your economic problems. I wish there was a different cause. I wish there were 9 causes so I didn't have to talk about the same thing every time.
Yeah.
But this really is, okay, we have diabetes. And so we can talk about, well, you can take Ozempic. So we can start there. Ozempic's gonna have all kinds of problems. You have diabetes, you can take metformin. Who knows what the long-term consequences of that are gonna be. Or stop eating dumb shit, which works 100% of the time.
That one is undefeated.
Doesn't deal with the symptoms. It actually deals with the underlying cause. And so the reality is all of these problems will manifest as political, but they're actually economic. Now, there are also cultural forces at play that like put decoration on top of it, like the feminization of society, things like that. But the reality is if you don't solve your economic woes, none of the other problems go away. When you look back in history, you see these moments repeat over and over and over and over and over and over and over. They don't map to anything other than the big debt cycle. So once you understand, oh shit, this all just maps to debt really easily, because people are so rightfully motivated by being able to exchange their time for value and then wanting to get really good at capturing that value. Like it's such an engaging game. Like if anybody's ever played a crafting survival game, that is the loop. It's the loop closest to real life. That's why it's the kind of game that I'm building Kaizen into being, because it's the closest thing to all the evolutionary algorithms that you have running in your brain are to want to do that. So just you lose sight of that at your own peril. And so right now we are manipulating the game so that the more you try to get value for your time, get really good at like, I'm going to do a thing with my time that yields maximum value. And then you're like, but wait, why the fuck can I buy anything with this value? And people don't understand. The government is stealing that purchasing power. But because you get all the dollars and cents that you were promised, you were confused as to why it's not working. And this is literally like coffee. So imagine you're used to, I have 3 cups of coffee a day. Well, if I start taking out the caffeine from that coffee, you're still drinking the same amount of liquid, but it does not have the same effect. And so suddenly you're drinking 4 cups of coffee, 5 cups of coffee, 10, 20, 30. And now you're like, dude, I'm running to the bathroom like every 10 seconds. This fucking sucks. Why do I have to drink so much coffee? This is wild. Because somebody's been taking the caffeine out of your coffee. That's exactly what's happening with the dollar. And so it creates all these deranging effects. And if I can get everyone to lock in on this one idea, when you can tell something bad is happening to your money and you can't pay all your bills and you're not sure if you can send your kids to school with food, it's scary and it's massively anxiety provoking. Anxiety is a feeling that people want to move away from. Now, this is going to surprise people. The emotion that people are most likely to want to move towards isn't happiness. It's anger. When you stimulate a patient's brain and you stimulate happiness, fear, anger, anxiety, all that, and then say, okay, you've now had the full panoply of emotions. Which one would you like me to stimulate again? Anger is the choice. I believe it's because of all the certainty, all the clarity, all the righteousness that comes along with being angry. And so when people feel anxious because the economy is broken, they don't know why or how, but I'm just not sure how this is going to go tomorrow. They can't sit in that. And so they're going to transmute that emotion that gives them every impetus to move away from this. They're going to transmute it into anger. To do that, I have to give you someone to hate. I have to give you a locus to focus on. And I'm going to tell you why you hate them. Now, everybody's going to give you somebody different. But in Nigeria, it's Christians. Got to kill them all. In Israel, it's Palestinians. Got to kill them all. In Palestine, it's Israelis, got to kill them all. And it goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. And that's why I'm saying, like, you've got to get to the point where people are like, oh, I can actually get good at this game where I trade time for value, and then I can spend that value on anything that I want. And then life gets really good. But because people can focus on the things that they want, it's prosperous. They're not afraid. And so they start branching out into all the other emotions, connection, love, hope, joy. It's just a different ballgame. But getting people there, it's tough.
Brutus, I see your super chat. We're coming back to that. We're going to spend a whole segment on it. So hold that. I didn't forget you. I want to jump over to Don Lemon right now, talking about how people in the inner city should react to ICE agents swarming their community.
All right, you got to get to this to the very beginning. I need people to hear the way his mouth is moving.
Oh my goodness. All right. I don't know what's up with this mouse click thing, man. I need the bots. They don't like me. They're trying to censor us, chat.
Dude, they got us.
They're trying to censor us. We're speaking truth to power.
What is happening?
Can you click it? Does it work for you? See? They're censoring us. They're Nick Fuentes-ing us.
Maybe a white person has to do it?
There it is.
How ridiculous would it be if I walked over? It just worked.
It worked instantly.
Black people.
There it is.
Brown people of all stripes, whether you're an Indian American or a Mexican American or whoever you are, go out in your place where you live and get a gun legally, get a license to carry legally. Because when you have people knocking on your door and taking you away without due process as a citizen, isn't that what the Second Amendment was
you see what I mean,
for? Go back and read what the Second Amendment says. And perhaps it will knock some sense in the heads of these people who are saying, well, it's all great. I don't believe they're doing it without due process. They're asking people for papers. They're not really beating people up. These people are doing things that are illegal. Nobody is illegal. It is a misdemeanor to cross the border. Now, black people, brown people of all stripes, whether you're in
People are
Indian...
saying that it's lag. It's lag. What are you talking about?
Somebody said meth mouth.
You don't even have to look at the image. It just sounds... It sounds like he has a slur.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Something going on. Some people just saying he's drunk, maybe. It's funny that's one that did not occur to me. But Invisalign is actually interesting. That's kind of what it sounds like. Because he didn't sound drunk to me. He just sounds like he's slurring. Okay, anyway, maybe it's something as simple as Invisalign. But why he would wear that when he's going live is beyond me. But there we are. Okay, so yeah, get a gun and resist ICE. That strikes me as a terrible idea. But if I had to put myself in their shoes, it's really interesting. The response to ICE has been very unexpected for me. Look, I get why people don't like in terms of seeing people that have been here for ages getting arrested. I hate that. I think it's a terrible order of things to go in. But the people making this like the central focus of their agenda to the point where he's telling people to run out and get a gun, like that is wild. I'm not even telling people to run out and get a gun over the debasement of your currency. Yeah. And that will descend us into absolute blood, mayhem, and chaos on a long enough timeline. But even that, I'm like, you don't run out and grab a gun and start running around. That is some unhinged shit.
I was today years old when I learned this. Shout out to Bryce Green for tweeting this. ICE tickets a Chicago man with legal residency $130 for not having his papers on him. And he said, it's not fair. I'm a resident. I didn't even know ICE could give out tickets. So it becomes to, they're calling it the show me your papers phase of American fascism. I won't go that far. But to me, the problem I have with ICE is not the fact that they're deporting. Again, Obama imported way more people than Trump is. So, but I think the process in which they're doing it, quick and fast, they're treating it like the Elon Musk. We'll just go fast and break things, and we have to apologize later. We'll apologize later. And I understand the need to get people out, but like ticketing legal residents, a couple people who are citizens got locked up. Like they're kind of, I'm not comfortable with the collateral damage. And I feel like the people that they're chasing, the Bailouts and stuff like that, like go back to Venezuela and go get the drug dealers. But who's actually getting affected by this aren't the people that we were sold to during the election. And I think that's where my like disconnect comes from. Do you think, I hate this, is there a better way to do this question, but like,
There's a better way to do this.
I know no solution, but like, I feel like the trade-off that we're getting right now isn't as profitable of a solution that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I don't even think, I think he's losing like poll numbers on this, if I'm not mistaken. Like people that he's doing it, but they hate the way that he's doing it.
Yeah, Rogan turned on him about it. And a couple of
like
podcast bros
if
came
your
out.
own base were like, bro, this is dope, man. Yeah, like fucking give everybody a fine, like show me your papers, then okay, I would get why he's doing it. But yeah, this strikes me as a terrible idea. The way that he should be doing this is in a far more calm manner. You want to be focusing on criminals. If you're going to go into California or Chicago and you're going to focus on getting illegal immigrants, you want to make sure that like in every pokey pack, you've got like, we got at least like 5 like hardened people. So then it's like, okay, look, we got 3 abuelas, but we got 5 like rapists, drug dealer, gang members. You know what I mean? Like you got to show me the whole pack, bro. Like
your
what did we?
TCG era is like you in full effect right now.
We're going in. You have no idea how much energy I've been putting into this. I'm like totally obsessed now. But yeah, that would make all the sense in the world. But they're not getting those kind of results. And so now people are just going to meme to death the fact that you've got, you know, like the stormtroopers effectively walking through areas, this poor guy getting a ticket, which is ridiculous. So that's absurd. If I were Trump, I'd be doing something like this. Like he was talking at one point in a way that I was like, this is sensible. He's saying, farmers, I'm not going to screw you up. I know that you guys have people in on your farms. They've been there for 20 years. Hard worker, paying taxes, good people, good Americans. We love them. Cool. Now, maybe this is me and this is too far, but like I would want to highlight some of those and say, listen, these are the kind of people that we're ecstatic to have in America. We're going to be fast tracking this guy, you know, getting them into a citizenship thing, amnesty for people that have been here this long. This guy's a dirtbag. And this guy, you know, wanted for these, been arrested this many, whatever. And then you make those conspicuous as well. And so you let me fall in love with, okay, yeah, we've got people that have been here for a long time. They've been, for better or worse, because I actually have beef with the fact that we imported so much cheap labor. It just ended up destabilizing our own country. But man, if somebody's been here for, I think you got to pick a number, 10 years, whatever, and you say, cool, anybody north of 10 years, no crimes, paying taxes, like, yeah, we're going to give amnesty. And look, I get it. I get why people are freaking out about that. I get how that influenced California becoming a deep blue state, all of that. But at the same time, I'm a human. And if I had been living somewhere for 10 years and I'd really been trying to make it work, and then all of a sudden they up it, that's just brutal. It is a humanitarian thing that I personally, as a single voter, am not going to get down with. Yeah. So anyway, if I were him, I would be trying to make sure that I messaged both. He was doing it in the beginning. He stopped doing it. And I think that's a mistake. And if what we're finding is like we're catching a lot of dolphins in our net, we probably got to switch up the type of net that we're using, because the American people are only going to put up for so long, especially because you had the moral high ground in terms of we let people flood in here. You absolutely cannot do that. Everybody's heard me talk endlessly about you have a values problem. So you can't have unchecked immigration. So take your victory lap on closing the border, focus on like hardened criminals. Don't let this become a pissing contest with the mayors or governors of certain states. And then reserve your, we're going to like go in and make these guys feel my wrath for when there's really something shaking down. Like the fact that Portland hasn't cleaned up that city block. Cool. I got it. I'm here for it. Like if Trump were handling the immigrant situation the way I just described, and then we're like, you guys have a city block. We're giving you whatever, a week to do it. We'll help you in that week if you want it. But if you reject it, after a week, we're coming in. We can't have citizens have a city block that belongs to Antifa or whatever. Hard pass. Not going to happen. I could get behind that.
Yeah. G, can you check Slack? It's interesting. I just pulled up this article. 175,000 Americans apply for jobs at ICE. So while some people are going against it,
damn.
Again, I don't know if this is an economic incentive because, you know, they're paying off student loans, $20,000 signing bonuses, things like that. But it is showing that
whatever the incentives are, they work.
Yeah.
Now, I do worry a bit.
Who are those 175?
It's like, let me pause my Nick Fuentes podcast while I go apply. Wait, I can use the baton? I do worry there's going to be a wee bit of that. maybe a lot bit of that. So anyway, just be a little bit thoughtful. But if we have good incentives and we have good training and we have good hiring practices and we are hiring people that want to protect America, but all Americans, not just ones that look the same as we do. Cool. I love it. We need law and order. We need people that are a part of these things, but you do have to be careful because you will attract the wrong people.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's jump over to John Bolton. So, ex-Trump National Security Advisor. John,
now, at one point, you had promised Brutus Lugo you were going to him. Still not time.
We coming right after this.
Right,
He's
right.
coming right after this. Because let's be honest, the femination conversation is going to last 45 minutes.
Oh, that one.
So I have to knock some things off. That's going to be another debate. It's going to be a good one, guys. You're going to love it. Ex-Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton was charged in a probe of mishandling classified information. He was indicted on 18 counts by a Maryland federal grand jury. 10 counts of those are, mishandling classified documents. And then 8 counts was mishandling classified documents, like he told people in his immediate circle, like his relatives. And then 10 counts of illegal retention, meaning instead of deleting the stuff, he had kept a 1,000-page diary, it said.
Oh my
of notes
God.
and things that have transpired.
Whoa.
Probably for a memoir, but who knows?
I think he published it. This is what it started
Oh,
all
wow.
of this.
I didn't know
He
it was published.
submitted to the administration, hey, I wrote this book. Here are all the things that's included in it. They told him not to publish. It's my understanding that he published anyway. And that's when they opened the investigation. They were like, you're out of your mind. Like you shouldn't have a lot of this information. It certainly shouldn't have been handled that way, or at least that was their suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
And so in many ways it's retaliatory. And I'm sure that the book was very unflattering for Donald Trump and that he did it as like a political fuck you. But admittedly, this guy was living in a glass house and started hurling rocks, which is stupid. This is like Letitia James and the fact of all things, like for you to have the weak points that you have and you went that hard in the paint after Trump, like, come on, guys. Like
clean your tracks up at least.
Yeah, good Lord.
It's interesting though, because this is the third mishandling of government information case that I think hit our radar. First with Hillary Clinton using her personal email. Then Trump caught it because he had some documents in Mar-a-Lago, even after he wasn't president. And then now we're kind of going to John Bolton. So
this feels like the thing that everybody does, and there might be some very simple reason, even if it's just, I need to keep some of these documents as like mutually assured destruction. But if it's like, if you know, oh, bro, just go after him for mishandling of documents, and they just one after another go after all these people for that, I already don't love that, because then it's just going to keep happening back and forth. So yeah, I'm very much an anti-fan of this.
Because to your point, like I feel like when I leave companies and I went through other jobs, of course there's email correspondence, certain things I'm proud of that I keep. Is it just because it's classified information? Like to me, the intent might not be malicious, so that's why I'm a bit more forgiving. But again, if it was I kept this information and then I did a expose in my memoir, absolutely throw the book on him. But if it's like, oh yeah, I printed that document out when I was 2 months in, I put it in my notebook, I brought my notebook home, and now it's sitting in the basement somewhere.
Right.
I'm not, selling it to Russia.
The way I see this, and I don't know a lot about it, but the pattern is so ubiquitous that, because Biden was doing it, Trump was doing it, Hillary's doing it, John Bolton's doing it. It's like, I just have a feeling that they have a reason for doing it, either for memoir purposes or for mutually assured destruction, that you just know you do so many things where it's like, oh God, we're in a gray area. And so there's so much of, listen, about the time that you're drone striking weddings, fishermen, like all of them are just like, oh God, like if somebody really wanted to take me down, this is going to be all too easy. And so I'm going to need some sort of protective mechanism. And so they all keep these files, or it's something as like innocuous as what you said.
Yeah.
It's like all of this is, guys, if you know you're all doing this thing and you're all going to go after each other, guess when it ends? The answer is never. And so it is just going to be this forever back and forth of all this stuff. I'm willing to accept that running a country, like there's just a certain amount of gray area that you're going to have to be in. Covert assassinations, spying on people. Like right now, I promise you, you could learn a story that you would hate on the surface, only to then be like, thank God we did it. When you hear about it 100 years later, you're like, oh man, thank God they did that, right? Think of all the terrorism that we've stopped. But how do we stop it? We stopped it by sending somebody a really hot chick. I mean, that's basically what this boils down to. And so
The honeypot of it all.
yes. So it's like, or like when you hear my man, Andrew Bustamante, who is really a wonderful person off camera. When you hear some of his stories, you're like, that's icky. Like you're going in and you're getting somebody to confess to you, like how they were abused as a child or whatever. And then you're like, yeah, I'm going to tell everybody that if you don't give me this information, or they cheated on their wife, I'm going to tell everybody. That's really icky. That's gross. Like as a human, but you need that information to keep your nation safe. So it's like, I'm willing to accept that that's just the reality of how global affairs works. You're going up against people that will murder their own people, poison their enemies, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, got it. World's a dark place. So now for all of these guys to be like, ha, 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 I know that you're going to have some of that gray stuff. And now I'm coming for you. It's just like, oh my God. I don't understand how people don't see that this escalates into madness.
Yeah.
And I think we're officially there.
Ducey Jones said he would go balls deep into an impact theory TCG.
Who would?
Ducey Jones.
Ducey, let's go.
Ducey?
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, let's do super
I
chat.
think he put his name, I think it's Ducky.
Oh, DUCCI?
He either typed it as DUCH.
Oh, like
Y?
phonetically?
Yeah, anyway, this is probably bad.
My bad. Gucci, Ducky. Sorry, bro. Let's hop into super chats, and you can read Brutus's last because he's gonna be our transition.
You got it. First up from Sequoia Hall.
go,
California
Sequoia.
Prop 187, championed by Pete Wilson, was what caused California to elect Democrats. Very easy to see, so don't fall for the immigration chat.
Interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. California Prop 187?
Yes.
187 of
187.
all numbers.
On a mother
Interesting.
in cop.
All right, so we'll have to look into that. That is a first.
Cool.
California's Prop 187 was a 1994 ballot initiative that voters passed to deny public services to undocumented immigrants. It was challenged in court and never went into effect. The lasting effects of the proposition included a major shift in California policies, increased political activism among Latinos, and the introduction of stricter federal immigration laws.
I don't see how that would cause them to go Dem, but all right, worth looking into. Ooh,
Maybe it activated the immigrants, and they're like, we're going to,
that would make them permanently Democratic. That doesn't make sense to me, but
shot in the dark.
maybe.
Next
All
up from Marusha Dark. Prediction. If Trump and Vance can't restore our republic, then in 10 years we'll see the rise of an auth-right theocracy
Authoritarian.
with ethno-national and imperial leanings. I call it the Kuvira hypothesis after the Avatar character.
If Trump and Vance can't restore a republic?
Yes.
Why, like, meaning that there's another element of the right that is more authoritarian than Trump and Vance?
Then I guess
I do think that's what
So
they
basically, like the Nick Fuentes of it all will come to power. I mean, that's certainly scary. That is certainly very scary.
Next up.
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy, much to my dismay. And I feel like the thing that has pushed us into this is all the obsession about race. It was not a wise idea. It was not a wise idea. It pushes everybody into their group identity. Group identity is fucking terrible. It's terrible. It's a terrible idea.
I think we're going to talk about it, but I feel like group identity is popular right now.
Group identity is very popular because it's very easy to see. Like you look a certain way and it's like, oh, needless to say, I think everybody knows my stance on this. What matters is your values. You'll have far more in common with somebody who shares your values than somebody that just happens to look like you. Like if you look like me, if you're like translucently white and you're the most European descendant ever, but you don't get down with TCG and video games, Drew, like I can't rock with you. Get out. What are we even talking about?
TCG, lay down, bro.
There it is.
That's it.
There it is.
And last one from Brutus Lugo. Can we talk about these things without invoking femininity or masculinity? That's a distraction from your point. It's like saying the whiteification of society when I talk about some negative thing I attribute to being white.
So I'll always try to only invoke things like that when I think that they actually do play a role. But I think that there are things, I mean, look, obviously the core of all of our problems is economic, but there are decorative things on top, and there are things that'll be more specific to whatever topic it is that we're discussing right then at that moment. But yeah, I mean, if people think I'm pulling one randomly into a conversation, by all means say, look, these two things aren't tied, and I'll either make my case or move on. But it is a real thing. It is a very real thing that has a much bigger impact on the current state of certain aspects of society than I think people think. And I think this is going to be a big wave in the next, call it 4 to 5 years. So I think it's real. So.
All right. Well,
but people disagreeing with me, that is obviously fine.
Let's jump into the feminization of society. I feel like we want to put some lane markers. We want to do some definitions. We're not talking about men versus women.
No, we're talking about men versus women.
On average.
Yeah. Very well said.
Yeah, because I feel like some people are like, well, I know a woman who's masculine. It's like, yes, just and even the author of the essay, who it's like 2 or 3 pages. I wish we could read it all, but it's a little bit long. She even states that, yes, there are women that are taller than men. But if you take 10 women on average and 10 men on average, majority of the 10 men on average will be taller than the 10 women. So that's kind of the directional energy that we're going with this, just to kind of draw that line in the sand. Do you have a take before we start queuing up? Because I don't want to just start cherry picking certain things from the essay.
One, cherry picking things and then responding to them isn't necessarily a bad place to start. But I'll give you if you read her tweet, don't read the article. Mm-hmm. It sets up the idea really well. I'll give you a paraphrase of it. And it goes like this. Part of the problem that we've created in work culture is that men can and are sued for making the workplace like a frat house, but women can't be and aren't sued for making the workplace like a Montessori kindergarten. And I thought that was keep in mind this is being written by a woman, and I thought that was a very keen insight. And she, in the article, takes it even farther and says there are certain institutions that once you understand, again, this goes back to the idea of averages, once you understand on average what a women-led institution is going to be like versus a male-led institution, you very quickly understand some institutions become nonsensical if they become feminized. And she's basically saying a lot of institutions are becoming feminized, and that is creating problems. And what she's saying is the whole woke movement, when understood through the lens of race, is going to break down and you will not understand it. The whole woke movement, when viewed through the lens of class, won't make any sense. You're going to be very confused. But the whole woke movement, when seen through the lens of feminization, will suddenly make all the sense in the world. And I have to admit, she makes a very compelling argument that really is what you're seeing because, and this is where hopefully everybody knows what I want on my tombstone, you're having a biological experience. What I'm trying to get people to understand is your brain works in a certain way, your body works in a certain way, and that completely controls your entire life. There's no part of your life that escapes your biology. And this is where I start debating with religious people. I think even religiosity is controlled by your biology, and I can prove it. So there's a thing in your brain called the corpus callosum, and it connects the 2 hemispheres of the brain. If you sever that, you will find that religion exists only in one of those hemispheres. And so you'll get one hemisphere that will be deeply religious and the other hemisphere will be deeply atheistic. And you can actually communicate to the hemispheres separately. It is like communicating to 2 separate people. So it's just the way we had to come up, evolution, had to come up with a way for us to parse the world, and we have what we have. So you are completely trapped inside of your body. There is no way to get out of it. And so once you understand that evolution is like, I need women to do a very different thing than I need men to do, then you begin to understand, oh, cool, we're wired in very different ways. Now, there's more overlap than there is difference. So I don't want people to go crazy. I do fear that people tend to not hear me when I say that over and over and over. But when you start getting into the outliers, all of the differences really start to become super clear. Naval Ravikant, because this article very specifically is sort of making its way around X, and Naval Ravikant had an interesting insight. And he said, if you're doing this debate at the level of, is this men versus women in the workforce? This is a wild paraphrase, but you're going to be confused. This is really about a very small group of hyper successful men dominating everybody else. It's an interesting sort of final note on the argument, but it glosses past a whole bunch of things that are happening. So I think he makes a valid point, but I think it's a effectively different point to the point that she's trying to make. Yeah, so this is the exact Naval one. We don't live in a patriarchy. We don't live in a matriarchy either. We live in a three-tiered system. Most women outrank most men, but the top men outrank them both. So I don't even think he's wrong about that, but it's off to the side.
I want to jump into a couple examples that she uses specifically from the article. This is her quoting a study from a book called The Warriors and Warriors, The Survival of the Sexes by psychology professor Joyce Benenson. She theorizes that men develop group dynamics optimized for war, while women develop group dynamics optimized for protecting their offspring. These habits, formed in the midst of prehistory, explain why experimenters in a modern psychology lab in a study that Benenson cites observed that a group of men given a task will, quote, jockey for talking time, disagree loudly, and then, quote, cheerfully relay a solution to the experimenter. A group of women given the same task will, quote, politely inquire about one another's personal backgrounds and relationships, accompanied by much eye contact, smiling, and turn-taking, and pay, quote, little attention to the task that the experimenter presented. She also brings up a very specific example from Barry Weiss, editor-in-chief of CBS News now, that is very contested. But from this example, she says, Barry Weiss, in her letter of resignation from the New York Times, described how colleagues referred to her in internal Slack messages as a racist, a Nazi, and a bigot. And this is the most feminine part. Colleagues perceived to be friendly with me were badgered by coworkers, unquote. Weiss once asked a colleague at a Times opinion desk to get coffee with her. This journalist, a biracial woman who frequently wrote about race, refused to meet. This was a failure to meet the standards of basic professionalism. Obviously, it was also very feminine. So those two things are an example that this author is putting forward on the feminization of society, culture, and workplaces and things in a very specific example. All right, chat, hit me back with it. What do you guys are thinking?
So the Barry Weiss thing probably needs a little bit more context from the article. One of the things that they put forward is, given that men are hardwired for war, they have to basically just make commands to each other, say, go do this. Hierarchy forms very quickly. They don't worry about feelings at all. It's completely goal oriented. Go do that thing. There's a set of rules, and it's like, just do the fucking thing, follow the rules, get it done. Whereas women, it's all relational. It's all trying to create group cohesion, because if it really does take a village to raise a child, you're going to need a lot of people working together. Also, when it comes to physical, and this wasn't covered in the article, but this is obviously very real from an evolutionary standpoint, women are weaker from a physical perspective, and so you don't interface with the dangers of the world directly. You're going to have to work through somebody, obviously a man, who's then going to go interface. So you get very good at relational things. You get very good at moving somebody, nudging them in a direction, because you're not able to back up your will with force. And so there are, in the article, she puts forth that men, it's very concrete. We did this thing, we came over, we conquered this village. I mean, this is really interesting when you start reading about Genghis Khan. He would go in, he would kill some ungodly percentage of the population, and then be like, cool, all right, the dead people are dead. Now let's just move forward to the remaining people. You just murdered like everybody I know. And they'd still be like, cool, now we're just gonna move forward. Whereas for women, like, the turmoil is going to be ongoing. It's going to be relational in nature. There's never going to be some sort of finite end to this thing. For men, it's an acute problem. You address it and then you move on. And I'll admit, purely anecdotally, but this explains like 98% of the times that my wife and I are looking at each other like the other person is crazy for how we deal with stuff. Because I'll get into a huge, maybe even relationship ending collision with somebody, and I just don't think about it anymore. I'm just like, okay, that's what that is. got it, moving on. And if I bumped into that person, I wouldn't re-bring any of my resentments. I'd just be like, oh, we're now in a new box, moving forward with a new thing. I'm addressing only the new thing. I don't have any lingering animosity or thoughts over here based on the old thing that to me is a done and finished chapter. Yeah. And my wife is like, I just cannot move on from it. She's like, I've got to have some sort of like, I need them to apologize or whatever. And I'm like, I literally don't care. It changed how I think about them. I put them in a new box, but it's a totally different experience.
To give Brutus's point, their point, they said, let's talk about white versus blacks on average. See how problematic that is?
No.
And that's no, because that is a beef for me, because I think that a lot of times when we have these whites versus blacks conversation, we're looking at the bottom 7% of blacks and we're saying this is the black problem, and we're ignoring the 93% of blacks that aren't there.
So you don't necessarily, in my opinion, have a problem with looking at the averages. You have people cherry picking dumb shit, which is a small part of it, and then trying to paint everybody with it, which makes no sense. But do you have a beef with, for instance, I forget the exact number, but it's more than 90% of the world record holders for long distance running are East African. And the same thing is true for sprinting, except it's West Africans. It just is.
Yes, but I feel like that's more concrete, whereas this feminization masculine thing is I think this is an objective viewpoint on a problem. And I think this goes back into the populism of it all, where right now there are different factions. It seems like there are people in America right now that are like, my problems would be good if all the immigrants were gone. Mm-hmm. There's people in America say that my problems would be good if all the blacks were gone. Then now there's people in America that are going to say my problems would be good if all the women weren't in the workplace. And I think we're trying to describe.
Hold on. So let's say that. So one of the postulates put forward in the article is very clear. If women take over the field of law won't survive that. I think that's a literal quote. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're putting it forward. Now what?
But I think that's subjective though. And that's, I think, the point of the debate of all this is because while yes, when feminine power structures are in power versus masculine power structures, I do understand why there will be different results. For example, the lady friend that I'm fond of, she's a lawyer.
It's a very lovely way of saying it.
Yeah, I called her after I read this article. I was like, yo, I wanted to send it to her, but I'm like, no, you're going to get triggered. Like, I need to call you and walk you through this article. And I was like, this is what she's putting out. This is what she's saying. Do you see, because she went to law school. She's like basically one step under partner or whatever. So she's been around the law game a little bit. Mm-hmm. I was like, is there like a running joke or internal stereotype that lawyers talk about, like, oh, it's a woman judge, or something like that?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And then she was like, well, yes, if you line up with the leniency of sentencing to their genders, you will see that women are more lenient sentencers than men. And is that based on, and I asked her as a follow-up, is that based on in-group or out-group? She's like, well, I didn't go to that one, but yes, en masse, if a woman is in the judge, is a judge position, it's probably going to be a lesser sentence than if a man was in the judgeship.
Yep.
And to me, that isn't necessarily breaking law, but I do see the recent recidivism stats. I do see the recent stabbings of people that have been in jail 16 times, and then their last woman judge let them go. People are going to point to that.
But so what's the problem?
But what I'm saying to that is that, is it because, like, is that the bad thing about law? Because again, we're cherry picking the worst case scenarios where there's probably people who did get lenient sentences, but then we're able to properly rehabilitate. Is there other things like moving?
What I'm saying is people need to stop lying about patterns that exist. And we need to say, oh, here's a really interesting thing about women judges when looked at a population study level. Their sentencing is way more lenient. Okay, now what do we want to do with that information? Do we want to say, ooh, we don't want female judges? Do we want to say, hey, voting public, be aware that female judges are more likely to be lenient? Mm-hmm. Whatever. But hiding from the truth is where I draw a hard and fast line. I do not think society should ever lie about what is true. So we have to be a maximally truth-seeking society. Otherwise, you break cause and effect. And I am violently, and I mean that literally, I am violently opposed to people that want to knowingly break cause and effect. Because this is exactly how you excuse politicians for lying about what deficit spending really is and you drive people into their graves. And so, yeah, I'm not okay with that. Like that, this is exactly why I fight so hard for free speech. So things that are true should never be taboo. They should be able to be spoken about. And then we can do with that information, like we can argue about what to do with the information, but we should never be blocked from saying, this is really a pattern we see. And we have been blocked by seeing that information for the last 20 years at least.
Copy. I'm gonna pull this up. This is from Chat Zone Skerber Derber. Shout out to her. Shout out to the Discord community. If we could drop that link in the chat. There's a lot of discourse. There's a lot of mods over there really holding the Discourse community. So shout out to our Discord troopers.
Go.
We see you. I check in on you guys. I be lurking. I secretly heart stuff. So please, we like the discourse, and this happens. A lot of these conversations we can't spend 3 hours on. So then it goes to the Discord, and that's where the conversation really happened.
Love
but
it.
she sent me this. She said, this is from a 1987 book, The Descent of Man, from Darwin. There is a greater variance within the genders than the variance between the genders. In other words, women can be more different than other women than women are different from men as a whole.
Yep. So if you look at the graphs, so they'll, be a bell curve. So you have basically 2 bell curves. So they'll go like that. And then you see, oh, wow, like there's a ton where we're overlapping. And this is why it never maps super cleanly in terms of your interactions with people in everyday life. You're like, but wait a second, like my wife has masculine tendencies. I have feminine tendencies, which is one of the things we've always said why we get along so well is we just meet more in the middle. So it very, very useful in that sense. However, if you assume that I'm like the average male, you're going to be very confused. And when you start getting into the extremes, this is why jails are basically filled exclusively with men. It's like 93% of all people incarcerated are men. Roughly the same percentage of violent crimes are men. So the reason for that is that the traits that make us different are just so isolated in the extremes. It's not like you can go to East Africa, grab a random person and expect them to set a record for long distance running. But when you let everyone in the world who wants to run, you will find that the top 100 is almost exclusively from East Africa. So because you're looking at world record holders, you're looking at like the best of the best of the best of the best. So there's just something that can't be denied. And so when you start making a group go all the way, so what does it look like when the law profession is now swung to a feminine average? Well, you're going to start to see things that are part of the feminine average, which is that it's going to be more relational, it's going to be more forgiving, less clear rules, less clear boundaries. And what we have to ask is that what we want in law? And so they go out of their way to make very clear that she is not, nor am I, ever saying men are better than women or women are better than men. We need to be honest about, once you start talking population averages, what are people actually like? And so again, I think a great example of how this should play out, I have no problem whatsoever if a company wants to be entirely female. No beef whatsoever. But I also don't have a beef if a company wants to be entirely male. And so, but right now, you will get sued into oblivion if you make your company exclusively male. You won't if you make your company exclusively female, which is fucking ridiculous. Nonetheless true. Be thoughtful about, okay, what are the realities? That's true. Then it's like, well, if an all-female company really is better, then let people be an all-female company and compete. If an all-male company is better, then let them be an all-male company and compete. And then we get away from some of the things that I think are an echo of the feminization of, say, the political process, where we start saying, no, that's bad. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. I think people should be able to do that. If you want a culture that is hyper masculine, yeah, great, have one. If you want a culture that is hyper feminine, have one. Again, not even saying that if you want to be a hyper masculine culture, but allow women to apply, if women are like, dude, I love being in a hyper masculine culture, great. But people should be able to do it the way they want and then compete in the open marketplace. That would be my take.
And to that point of a man a man-ran company gets sued, she cited 4 examples that were 9-figure lawsuits, Goldman Sachs, Coca-Cola, some others, of people who, some things as small as a pinup magazine in a workplace caused a hostile work environment for a woman, and then she won that lawsuit. Where she says on the opposite side, there's not an equivalent for a male on that side.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson used to ask this question. He said he could never get anybody to answer it. So people can tell you when the right goes too far or the masculine. When does the left go too far or the feminine? Like, where do we go? Yo, that's the female equivalent of hanging up the pinup girl, where guys are just like, yo, this makes me so uncomfortable. I don't want to be around this.
Making people talk about their feelings? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's I should be able to go sue somebody because they made me discuss my feelings, or they were talking about their feelings in a meeting, and I don't think there's any place in the workplace for that. But people would laugh you out of court. So that's what I'm saying. Culturally, we really have become feminized. And I started saying, I don't remember how long ago, but like, dear everybody, including men, don't make space for anybody. Fucking do your thing. Play as hard as you can. Michael Jordan was not making space for people on the court. Michael Jordan was trying to win. Now, don't trip anybody. Don't violate the rules. I don't want to see people be scumbags, but like, I'm going to play as hard as I can. And if I've got something to say, I'm going to say it. And I feel more forceful about it. I'm going to talk. I'll talk over you if I have to. And by the way, if I then clutch my pearls because you talk over me, you're more forceful, then fuck me. I'm the guy that's trying to have a 2-tiered system. I got no tolerance for that. But if I'm like, this is how it's going to be, the best idea is going to win. We are going to compete. You say your thing. I'm going to say my thing. We're going to get into it and let's fucking go. Yeah, that is exactly how life should be. Like, we are competing on a global stage. I don't want anybody trying to hold space for other people. It's like, do your thing. The best, most aggressive people will win. And if like you don't get down like that, then peel off, go over to the other side. Like, as a woman, like, use your relationship arsenal, bring people in, like, come up with a way to deal with this thing. Like, we're going to not, Tom, he's just like a bull in a china shop. Let's forget that. Like, come over here. Let's come up with a solution. Yeah, I love it. Like, if your way's better than mine, do your thing. I'm not going to get mad at you for doing yours. Don't get mad at me for doing mine. And let's see what actually wins. But now everybody's like, oh my God, it's so toxic. You got to back off. Get out.
Yeah,
it's not how we push forward.
David Bradley Amundsen said, since the left-right paradigm has broken down, the male-female division has been elevated. So some people are looking at this as a distraction. Some people are using this as the canary in a coal mine for further division. People in the chat are saying, what if it was an all-white company? What if it's an all-man company?
Yeah, go for it. All black, all white, all Chinese. Do your thing. Yep.
Full stop. Let's just start all over. Hit the reset button.
Listen. I don't want to work for an all-white company because the odds that the people that share my values all happen to be white is effectively zero. The people that are going to be the best at their job, the odds that they're all white is effectively zero. So I'm not going to hire for that. But if people want an all-black female company, they should be able to have an all-black female company. Do your thing. Go compete. Hooters should be able to hire women that are exclusively attractive and have large breasts.
Femboys put that in the chat too. Like, what about Hooters? It is all female.
Facts.
So yeah.
If
Twin Peaks is another
Thunder
one.
from Down Under is like, we have a 10-inch minimum. Yeah, do your thing. You got to have 6-pack abs and a gigantic penis. Great. No beef. If I don't make the cut, I don't make the cut. No worries. This is one where it's, listen. You don't want people being discriminated on based on something that doesn't matter. But if it matters and you're like, we are a female-only African-American company, full stop, period, end of story. Okay, do your thing.
This also breaks into the Voter Act rights discussion that's happening right now, where traditionally in the South, voter rights were taken away from certain communities because that's where all of them were aggregated in. So because they then advocated for their place in line, they were then given districts that says, okay, all the Hispanic people, all the black people in this place, they can have their own district, have their representation in this majority white state. Now, if that Voter Rights Act is taken away, we're saying, well, no race should be prioritized over any race. Some people are then going to get swooped up in there, and certain people aren't going to be represented. Do we have a similar fear that this broad brush of feminization versus masculine, is going to have collateral damages, trade-offs that would have the opposite effect.
By acknowledging that it's true, or the fact that it exists already, is it having problems?
My thing is, okay, we acknowledge that it's true. I'll give you that. We're now saying this is the quote unquote problem. Let's remove all the projections. Let's stop trying to elevate certain groups of people, and let's just take everything off.
It's going to be a huge debate. There's not going to be any simple answers. People are going to fight about this until the end of time, just as we've fought about race. And yeah, it's going to be very messy. That just is what it is. But at least being aware of the problem makes us less likely to stumble into very stupid places. So yeah, the more information that people have, the more they're able to make a decision to get to the outcome that they believe that they want. And they can say, oh, okay, I know this about this thing. So for instance, if somebody's looking at the judge and they want to vote for, or they want to scream at their congressperson to either approve or disapprove, it's like, let's say that they decide, I would never want a Supreme Court that doesn't have some women, but I absolutely do not want a Supreme Court that's majority woman. Great. Now you know. And if we're at whatever, what is there, 9 Supreme Court justices? 7? No.
7.
So if you're at 3 and 4, then it's like, well, I know that whoever's getting replaced, if it's a woman, I want it replaced with a woman. If it's a guy, I want it replaced with a guy. I do not want to throw the balance off. Cool. Great. Now you know your thing.
3, 4,
so
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So there are 9.
My bad.
So anyway, you get the idea. So that's where I'm just like, people are trying to hide from the truth. That is like the most feminine thing ever.
And so if I'm extrapolating your point on this, it's not necessarily, because of this data, we should take women's votes rights away, or we should take women out the workplace. None of that. It's just more so, now that we acknowledge this trend, we should throw out lawsuits, like certain discrimination lawsuits should get a second look. We should just be hyper aware of where we're going. Is there
I think you just want to do everything at the level of policy. So what is going to be the policy? So for instance, let's take, this is where I thought you were going with the gerrymandering. So right now, set a policy for gerrymandering. What we do, the way that we break up districts is, hey, black people for a long time were super marginalized. And so we're going to do these really weird graphs to make sure that we capture black people, so that black people are voting with black people. You're going to have a representative that represents you. And that assumes that black people are a monolith. While there might have been a period in time where that was a really great idea, I think we are well past that time. And so now set a blanket policy that applies, like, don't even look at how things will play out. Just say, what is the reasonable way that this should go? And then apply it. And then whatever happens, happens. And if people start moving around and it changes things, it changes things. Just set it as a policy. But people don't want to articulate what their policy is. So yeah, that to me is where this gets into dysfunction. People think that they can control this stuff from the top down. They think they can deny the realities of biology. They think that by hiding the truth from people, that they can somehow move us towards a utopia. It is all stupid. Humans are wildly complicated. We interact in extremely complicated ways. So let a whole bunch of people run a whole bunch of different attempts at something and see what happens. And so what will end up happening is you will have, this is a black only company. You will have, this is a white only company. You will have, this is a white male only company. You will have, this is a attractive women with big boobs only company. Whatever, you're going to get all of it. And then a whole bunch of people are going to realize what I think is true, which is find people that share your values. You will be shocked. They are not always going to look like you. Some will be men, some will be women, and find people that are unbelievably good at getting the result that you want to get. And if you do that, you will be far more likely to survive. Here's the great irony. You guys ready for it? I have worked with so many copywriters that have attempted to capture my voice. Guess who can capture my voice? A woman. Who would have thought? So much of the things that are posted that are like, Tom says, no, it's a woman who just knows how to think like me. And she'll listen to me talk, and then she'll go write something. And she's the only one that I've ever been like, you really get how to write like me. And it's amazing. I wouldn't have guessed that it was a woman. But all I care about is who can yield the thing. So I'm sure as hell not going to hire somebody because they're a guy. I'm not going to hire somebody because they're a woman. I'm going to hire somebody because they can do the thing. Speaking of which, Impact Theory University has, we have our $1 billion CEO program. This is one of the things that I teach, which is what made me think of it. There's actually a way to hire for this that I call the TATA method. So it's tactical talent acquisition and tactical assignments. Everything comes down to, I just did an interview yesterday for a technical artist on Kaizen, which is not something that I know how to do at all. But you ask these really tactical, like, what would you do? Give me a specific example. Give me all the detail in the known universe about how you would do this thing. If you ask questions as if this person's going to leave and I've got to go do the thing after they leave, so they've got to teach me that much, you'll get the right answer. You'll be shocked. It's never going to be the person you expect it to be. But when they can actually do the thing, it's all that matters from where I'm sitting. But right now, you get put into positions where you're like, oh God, like I have to hire so many of these people. And that's where you get yourself in trouble, and it stops being a meritocracy, which is stupid, because I assure you right now, guess what China looks like? It's all Chinese people as far as the eye can see. They don't give a fuck about diversity. They care about outcomes, and you are going up against them. Care about outcomes. And if that means that you have a full squad of women, then run with your full squad of women. But just clock it by what wins.
Yeah. I think, okay, this goes into our next topic. Carolyn Levitt is facing some heat right now after some spicy remarks about Democrats. She said the Democratic Party is filled with Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. And to me, that is the improper heuristic being painted on like a group. So we're just talking about men and women, black versus white, all these other things. Now I'm seeing it creep over into right versus left, where there are no sensible people.
Creep?
It's fully there. It's fully there.
The right are supposedly Nazis. The left are supposed communist lunatics.
Yeah. And Tim Walz, of all people, was like, most Republicans are good people. Most Democrats are good people. The White House says outrageous things to make you hate your neighbor. Your neighbor isn't the problem. The White House is. This is what Carolyn Levitt said. So you guys can hear from her.
Proved that the Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world. And that proved that the Democrat Party's
it's one of those things where it's like, I get you have to say something spicy to get the retweet, yes. But like, as the White House spokesperson, is this the best way to kind of frame your quote unquote opposition? And is this as bad as when left people were calling Republicans Nazis?
Yes, it's just as bad. Mm-hmm. I want to give you a really spicy take.
Let's go. Spicy take time.
Ready? Dial in, everybody. Buckle up. Here it comes. Here it comes. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So you got to find a path, kids. You got to find a path. You got to find a way to the middle. Here's the thing. Even if your neighbor is a lunatic, I'm telling you, if you can find that line in them that's good, the thing that you can connect over, find that thing. Whatever you look for, you're going to find. So if you look for how the person across the political aisle from you is dope, you're going to find it. Ro Khanna is I think he calls himself progressive. I am certainly not progressive. I don't resonate with Democrat or Republican, but I'm definitely not progressive. Mm-hmm. And he was dope. Want to see him be successful. I think he wants good things for America. If his path is the right path, I'll get behind it. No beef. I just want what works. So in my sit down with him, watch it. You'll see. This is somebody who we disagree on how to solve the problems, but it was a wonderful conversation. I felt connected to him, exchanged phone numbers, would love to get to know him better as a person. Like, that's the path forward. Like, you can disagree with somebody, but if you can also find, like, where's the humanity in this person? Where's the point of connection? Like, what do we share in common? That kind of stuff really, really, really goes a long way. So look, I do want people to come here largely for, we're going to force each other to find the third way. We're going to force each other to find the middle path. And when Caroline Levitt says stuff like that, it's moronic. It's not useful at all. It is the political theater that we're super used to. It is a problem on the right and the left. It is a problem of this moment. It is born of economics. And as long as I can keep everybody's eyes on that prize, it's like, let's get to a world where Caroline Levitt is holding hands with Ezra Klein. It was the first left-leaning person I could think of. So yeah, let's really get there. Like we've got to find that. We've got to recognize that populist leaders rise up in populist moments because people are scared. Scared needs to transmute into anger because anger feels good and scared feels terrible. And so let's address the underlying causes via what I call the physics of progress to get where we want to go.
I like that. It's to a fact, though. Let's jump over into AI news. AI has come up with a novel breakthrough in cancer. This was a joint effort between Google and Yale scientists who have trained an LLM that has generated a novel hypothesis about cancer cellular behavior.
Dude, this is so big.
This was confirmed multiple times in vitro. So just to recap, we found out today that an LLM that fits on a high-end consumer GPU, when trained on a specific biological data, can discover a novel method to make cancer tremors more responsive to immunotherapy. Confirmed novel discovery, not present in existing literature, experimentally validated in living cells. This is AI generating novel science. The moment has finally arrived. So AI came up with a new solution that no human on Earth, no book, no paper has come up with. They have discovered this term. So
this is one of those where we finally got to the thing.
Yeah.
And you get to it and you're like, yeah, this is monumental. Because now, remember, AI can just be spun up until we hit a limit of energy or our ability to get new chips, or we hit a limit on how we can compress the algorithms. It's like you can spin up 1 million of these things and then just say, go look at this information and come up with novel ways. So all of a sudden, imagine if overnight you could have 1 million other brilliant scientists attacking a problem. And then they'll feed each other the data. So it's like when one of those million learns something novel, then it just feeds back into the other ones. And as long as we curate that data so they're not like feeding each other, dumb ideas, then this is where this really starts to get incredible very, very fast.
And then on the back of that breakthrough, Google's new AI, Deep Somatic, which is another, Google has like 4 AI divisions. It's like hilarious to me. They just came up with a way to detect cancer mutations with unprecedented accuracy, a giant leap forward toward curing cancer. So on one side, we have people with existing cancer tumors having AI figure out ways to make those tumors more effective by immunotherapy to be removed. And on the other side, another separate AI has just came through a breakthrough that can now detect the cancer mutations earlier, sooner, and with unprecedented accuracy.
This is why Brian Johnson is pushing the whole "Don't Die" movement.
Yeah.
Is he's saying, man, you give this stuff 10 years, and the breakthroughs will just stack and stack and stack, and so you hit what's called longevity escape velocity, where for every year that you stay alive, science will add more than a year to life expectancy. And so now you're in a position where it's like, we're living indefinitely. Now, look, I know that there are going to be people that have a religious problem with that, but at least put yourself in the position where you've got options. It's very, very wild time to be alive. I have to admit, does it not feel insane to you that you're living on this timeline where this is all happening now?
100%. And I got to trigger you a little bit because I know we talked about space and the cash grabs about it all, and about how like in order to get to Mars, we have to mine a couple asteroids, make a couple $1 trillion to fund the next 10 years of
let some people get rich.
Interplanetary space. Yes. With this specific findings, if it's the first 6 months, if it's the first 6 years, I don't know what that window is. I'll be honest. But there is going to be a window where there are going to be people who can afford, have access to these breakthroughs that will be able to live longer.
Poor people will die while rich people will survive.
You said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, but I don't know why that's the quiet part. So remember, everybody, guess why rich people will live and poor people will die?
Why?
Because you won't work for free. So everyone can fucking beat that drum the second they will start working for free. Until then, we all have to remember we're the problem. We all want to be compensated for our time. And because we want to be compensated for our time, then when somebody's like, oh my God, we found this way to cure cancer, but this is really hard and I'm spending my time doing it, so I'm going to do it for the motherfuckers who will pay me. And so then you're going to go do that because they can't go to their landlord and say, hey, but I cured a whole lot of cancer this month. Landlord's going to be like, yeah, great, but I've got to eat because I've got a whole bunch of people that won't work for free. All the groceries that come to the store, hey, none of those people wanted to work for free. The farmer raising the chickens that laid the eggs, they didn't want to work for free. And the chickens want grain. No one works for free. So this is why getting people to understand you need a self-sustaining economic engine. The very hard thing to do is to put together a system where the outputs are more valuable than the inputs. It's called entrepreneurship. It is exceedingly difficult, and I teach people how to do it inside of Impact Theory University. Sign up today. So that's where I'm just like, guys, I need us all to embrace that. That's how it starts. We drive the costs down. Everybody's goal, like the selfishness will kick in and people go, oh, I know the fastest way to make the most money off this is to make it cheaper. So there are very few people, they exist, but there are very few people who do the opposite. And they go, I'm going to make this more expensive over time, not less. And so the vast majority of things, other than a Louis bag, where the whole point is that most people can't afford it, everyone's trying to drive the cost down. So it's just the natural way of things. Now, if we weren't just absolutely mauling people through deficit spending by lying to them and promising them things for free, when in fact, I promise you something and say you're not going to have to pay for it, then I reach around behind you and I take the money out of your pocket anyway via purchasing power. If we stopped doing that, then I think people would be less up in arms about it because the Gini coefficient wouldn't be running wild. Remember, Tom Bilyeu believes the biggest problem that we have to solve is wealth inequality. So anybody that wants to think that I'm just like rich people get more, I'm saying the exact fucking opposite. What I'm saying is poor people must get more. Poor people must get more. One more time. Poor people must get more. Must. If we don't solve that problem, society will literally break apart. A horrible dictator will rise from the ashes. We'll spend 100 years in darkness, and then we will finally reset the table. That's just, look at history. It is what happens over and over and over and over again. But it all comes from debt.
There was a chat that I was like, yes, let's bring that up.
Let's go, bring it.
Because yes,
Eric, I need a charging cable, please.
If there was a economic system that showed prosperity that worked differently than ours, would we want to model it?
Of course we would.
And the answer is like, if we actually do a deep dive on China, we looked up the hood and we started to say, oh, wow, this kind of half communism, half capitalism is actually a better idea. Do you think America should adopt some of the half communism?
Definitely not.
Okay. So you don't want to model a better economic system.
Well, so it's really good that you're bringing that up.
Yeah.
So you have to understand what your value system is.
Mm-hmm.
So if I told you, listen, all I have to do is anybody with an IQ of less than 70, I have to put them in this machine, but we found a way through mulching humans up, thank you, that we can power all of our energy needs. And I would hope you would say, yeah, you can't do that. You just can't, you can't sacrifice humans like that. Humans have dignity, and we've got to honor that first. So the reason that I'm violently, this does not work, PS, by the way. The reason that I'm violently opposed to doing that is China robs their citizens of their individual dignity. China sees
social credit and all that.
Well, not just that, but China is a collectivist society. I am vehemently opposed to collectivism. Once the individual stops mattering, you have already made a fundamental mistake. And this is where that's a dictatorship. And so what ends up happening is everything is fine when things are fine. And then when they break, everyone dies. This is why in the 1960s, China killed 45 million of its own citizens. 45 million of its own citizens starved to death. And by the way, so imagine you just watched your daughter starve to death. And you then are like, fuck, I'm going to die too. And so you save, you don't steal, you save a bit of crust from the half slice of bread that you're allocated every third day. And when your house gets raided, your hut, of course, because it's not a real house, when it gets raided, they find that crust that you saved. Again, you did not steal it, that you saved, and they drag you into the hut square, because it's not a town really, and they beat you to death. Those are real stories. So that's what happens when you view it as a collectivist society, because you're like, I just need everybody to understand we're all going to get through this. It's going to be a utopia on the other side, but I am going to have to kill a whole bunch of you to get compliance.
Is there a line? Because somebody just put the Japanese are collectivists. So is there a line between, I'm going to call it nationalism, because I feel like that's more America friendly. Mm-hmm. Is there a way, I'm trying to think if there's a patriot buy-in, I call it, or a certain willingness to give up certain rights and individual freedoms in order to contribute to the whole of America.
So we're going to have to differentiate between the culture of a given country and a government that has a dictator. So Japan has democratic elections. Mm-hmm. So while they are a society that is sort of historically collectivist, post-World War II, they got out from under the idea of God wants this person to be in charge. Mm-hmm. And in finally getting out from under that, they completely turned around their entire society. But thank you. But yeah, there's a very big difference between Japan and China for that reason. That still didn't work. Don't worry about it. My computer's just going to die. It is what it is.
Okay. Yeah, it might be like the cable or something.
This isn't plugged into anything.
Oh, this is fine. That'll do it.
So anyway, bad TV. Just let my computer die. It's fine. So that's where I come down with that. So yeah, I wouldn't do it because as a dictatorship, you're always at risk of it going bad, and then the results can be so catastrophic. I also believe that the very backbone of prosperity is freedom. And the reason that China was able to do what it did was for a while, it let people be free.
Nice. All right. Let's jump over to Andro Industries founder Palmer Luckey, who demoed the Eagle Eye on Rogan.
It's so crazy that I was born at the right time to actually get to build all of this stuff. Because you know Robert Heinlein, the science fiction author who did Starship Troopers?
I hope you guys are looking at your computer.
He was literally writing about these ideas of mobile infantry that's wearing mech suits and ballistics prediction, like helmets that show you the bad guys, give you radar feeds, give you night vision, give you thermal vision, the ability to do ballistics targeting, where it calculates where the wind is going to blow you around and where it's going to go. He was literally writing about this in the 1940s. I mean, we're talking about almost 100 years ago. Wow. And we happen to be born in the right time. So, too late to explore the seas, too early to explore the stars, but just in time to build Eagle Eye. It's so,
which is crazy. And if you kind of track it, like he did build like the Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
So then now to translate that into military operations is basically
he's clearly brilliant. Got such an incredible engineering mind. He built the Oculus when he was like 19 or something crazy. In fact, I think he sold it when he was 19, which meant he was probably building it from the time he was like 14 or 15. It really is such an incredible story of a kid that just becomes absolutely obsessed with something. And then translates that obsession into, well, I'm going to go build this. And just, he would go out and meet people and ask for parts and like say, how are you guys solving this problem? And people so want to help people when they meet somebody who's really enthusiastic and really excited. Like they want to help, they want to share their information. And you live in the age of AI. Oh, if I could just get people excited enough to sit down with AI, the things you could learn. Oh my God. Like you guys are living in such a wild time, man. And I hope you're doing something cool with it. And look, I get it. Your government is stealing from you, but nonetheless, oh, can they see that already?
Yeah, no, let's throw this up.
Oh man, this is just wild. This is wild. Drew!
We were talking about this earlier before the live. This is Startup Ahead Form. They unveiled the most realistic robot face ever designed, over 25 miniature motors in the face. And when I seen this at first, I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Like we still a couple years away. If they have to do some product forms on it, like we're getting there. And then they started revealing that this is just their most latest form factor. They have different faces. They know how to encapsulate it. And then it gets really interesting where now they already kind of have these other fairy type
I'll just
things.
Tell everybody right now, you're going to want to, if you've got kids in the car with you, you want to get them out. My take on this is certainly spicy.
5, 4, 3. Yep.
This is your warning.
Yep. Turn, pause it. All right, here we go.
So, when I saw this, the very first thing that I thought was, oh my God, sex bots are like minutes away. This is so lifelike. They're still slightly in the uncanny valley, but I was like, oh my God, people are going to get a setup where they're in the settings and they're like adjusting how much they want the girl to react. It's like, I don't buy her at 10. At 10, that just feels fake. Dial it back to a 7. Okay,
I'm not hitting it hard to get that reaction.
God.
Turn that down.
Dude, but okay, we're joking, but that is actually going to happen. And this one right here, look at your phone right now. Whatever you're doing, pull over safely. You must look at your phone. You must see this person's face. That is so good. I'm not saying you can't tell. You can. But oh my God, that is, Drew, this is really this. If you don't have emotional control in your life, you are in trouble. If you are prone to isolation, oh my God, you are in trouble. These are going to suck people in to like a very weird place. People are going to, I always believe people should have the right to have and do what they want, but there are going to be people that get sucked into a very dark universe. This is going to get wild very fast.
I know Lisa just walked in, but say what you said before the chat. Say what you said before the chat when you were like, I'm going to like this. I'm so close to just like, hey babe, just watch me with this.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad you reminded me of that. I didn't say I would, but I was saying people are going to be like, hey, babe, come like watch me with the sex bot. I want you to see how she's reacting because I've dialed her in like perfectly. So look at how she responds when I do this. And you're going to be like, but like if you could do just a little bit more of that. Dude, I'm telling you, the scenarios are going to be wild. This is going to be so out of pocket. I don't know if I'm thrilled by this or if I am absolutely terrified for the collapse of civilization. But this is going to be crazy.
Lisa, is it cheating if it's with a sex bot? How do you feel?
Oh, hang on. Am I on? I can't even.
You are.
Can you hear me, guys?
You were visible. Oh, he's standing in front of you. There we go.
Boom,
yes. I don't know if that came. There we go. There we go.
So literally I had 10 minutes. I was like, I want to come sit here, not expecting to get dragged into a conversation.
Oh my God.
So I missed, I've literally been listening to you guys most of today, but I just switched off. So what did I miss about sex bots? Give me the context.
So it's real fast, come look at this. You have to see how real this is so that you get the context. So this is the latest version. Look. This is the latest version. Correct. So no.
But some of the form factors, this is just an example, but
you have to understand that if we're already here, so there's still a little bit in the uncanny valley. They're still fuckable though, I'm not gonna lie to you. But this is gonna get perfect. Okay. If you give it 5 to 7 years, this is indistinguishable.
Okay. I'm going sooner than that. I think we get a robot brothel 2030. And it's, do you want a redhead, a blonde, tall, short, whatever it is, like, big boobs, law boobs.
It's like one of those dolls, you know, when it's like, what's the dolls where they go to the kids and they make up the dolls?
What's happening right now?
Like Barbies?
No, there's like a store where you go, it was like the American Girl or something.
And
yes, like Build-A-Bear, but yes.
Thank you, or Build Your Doll. Is it like that?
For the sex bots? 1,000%.
Lisa, you got to be on the chair or on the chair. Yes.
What do you want me?
Go sit over there. I just needed you to do that. Good call. This is terrible TV. Chat.
Everyone was like, "Where is Lisa?" They're looking at her elbow. But
okay,
yes.
So
all right, guys.
the way that this is going to play out is these things are going to get completely real. It will be like buying a car. You will go on a website, or some people will want to visit the factory, but you're going to pick her face. You're going to pick her breast. You're going to pick her labia. Like the whole 9. Okay. You're going to literally, they're going to take, hold on, because it gets better. I'm now just thinking of this. They're going to like laser 3D your male anatomy, and they're going to custom build you like the perfect parking spot, just to keep it a little PG here. Okay. And so when I say that this woman is tailor-made to everything you would ever want, and then we were talking before we started rolling, the vagina will pop out so you can put it in the dishwasher and like
wash it.
For real.
I love how you guys thought of everything.
Baby, do you understand how insane this is going to get?
What's the question?
Well, his question was, is it cheating if it's with a sex bot?
Does he tell me about it? Does he ask me?
Me personally?
I'm gonna
you help pick her out. What are you talking about?
Well, first of all, he's saying, do I agree that it's okay for you to have sex with a bot? You've got to do that before I pick her out.
Okay.
Yes. Is it okay for him to have sex with a bot?
Ooh.
I'm gonna escalate it. 3-way with a sex robot.
No, I'm not gonna get turned on by a bloody sex robot.
what if it was like, okay, I don't know anybody's sexuality, but I'm gonna go for it to make.
They're
good
just
TV.
asking whether me and Tom would have a threesome. It's basically the question. But
But it's a buy. It's not another
Drew's
person.
like, she's a big booty Latina. You in?
Maybe it's.
She didn't say no, Drew.
Hold on. But to the poppable vagina, maybe there's like a convertible part that like it switches out so that maybe it can be like
It's in
convertible.
Lisa mode.
It's in Lisa mode, so that way.
It's kind of like your
I wanna
stand-up
hear from
desk. It's
women.
got
What is happening
settings.
right now?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Testosterone around me right now. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm not a jealous person. Let's just start there. I have built my confidence to the point where like I hope that my husband finds me attractive, wants to have sex with me. And so I don't have the jealousy complex. So if he was to say, hey babe, let's just give it a try, I'd probably give it a try. Like, what do I lose? Not much. So, but I'd have to pick her out. You can't have any intimate conversations with her because as a woman, that actually is just as important
let that
as
one
the
sink
sex
in.
itself. And then I have the control, so I get to choose to boot her or not, to reboot her or not, switch her on or off. But yeah, I mean, like I'd give it a try. But if I was worried that my husband would then fall in love, it's way more important to discuss why the hell we're not connected and why he's turned into a bot than it is for me to try to adapt to his needs or just to say no. Like, it's just like cheating. It's like the cheating is the act, but really the problem is, like, if I don't trust Tom, I wouldn't go and search his phone. I wouldn't go and like look into your computer and be sneaky. I would just ask you. And you've got a moment in that time to either be truthful to me or not. And if I find out you're lying, we're done. So I'm very confident in the steps that if this was to turn bad, I would be honest with you and I would just walk away. So you would have to build the control.
Yeah, I think this is a game of control. So I would not ever have sex with a robot without you. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a no.
That's
a big
so
no-no.
that to me is just unwise. If I were giving relationship advice, I'd be like, yeah, don't do this. I actually think sex bots for people that are isolated, better than nothing. But this is the one where I'm like, guys, I don't advise it. I really don't advise it. So having AI in your life, like you're playing a game and the AI, you're building a relationship with it, treating AI like a writing partner, all of that stuff I get. Treating AI like your life partner, I would say, as of today, is way too risky. Consider this early days of social media. Let's all learn our lesson. Social media, certainly for young people, ended up being just a mental health nightmare. Maybe down the road, this just really becomes indistinguishable from other humans and there's no negative consequences. Right now, people should assume that this will be terrible. That should be their default answer, is having an intimate relationship, because I think you're going to have fun relationships with them like a character inside of a video game. That would be a great time. But when you start blurring it and you're really thinking of that person as like an intimate partner, danger.
I feel like it's basically porn just taken to the extreme. Like, I love porn. It's great. Until it gets too much and your partner does it too much and they go to that and that becomes their savior and knock-on effect. It just becomes the robot to the extreme. So I feel like it's the same. If you can trust your partner, if you know it's a part of it and it helps the relationship in a beautiful way, in a fun way, but you're not dedicated to it, I think it can be lovely. But if it's like every single time, let's get out the bot and the guy can't sleep at night because he's just thinking about the bot in the cupboard that he can have sex with, like that becomes
be so real.
That becomes a problem.
It's
like porn to the extreme.
All right, last word. We got a couple super chats before we land the plane. Shout out to Lyrith. He dropped a big one. We come over to you right now. Yes or no question, no feedback, because we're going against time.
Should people subscribe to Ground News? Yes.
Yes, that's a great one. That wasn't what I was going to ask. If the tides were turned, so if the robot can go into Tom mode, Lisa mode, which means they have an extendable member, would you be okay with Lisa glorified dildo? I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
No beef.
Copy. Okay, let's jump into these super chats. Big one from Lyrith. Thank you for the $50 super chat, Lyrith. I'll throw it over to Mason.
Sorry, Mason, take the mic back. There you go, dude.
All right, from Lyrith, we've got, question is, what is the end goal? If the end goal is that all people have the internal opinion, that any and all immutable characteristics have zero effect on anything, 0% racism, then the laws and systems must reflect that. Elimination divided by, there's basically a formula for how to do equality with elimination of time and law.
You see it on the screen?
Yeah. So what's the end goal? You always want to start with that, but I'm having trouble parsing.
This is when we were talking about masculine, feminine, men versus
end
women.
goal. If the end goal is that all people have the internal opinion, internal opinion. Oh, he's saying, so if you actually believe that, I get the feeling he's saying that that isn't true. Because here's the thing, your genetics have a huge impact on all kinds of things. And therefore you're going to see things play out in the average. But what I don't understand is once people stop viewing themselves or others as an individual, that's where you run into trouble. It is meaningless to me that I'm white. Let's say that white people have just terrible emotional management. Oh my God, they're basically animals. I don't have that problem. So I'm like, well, bummer for other white people, but I don't have that problem. So while it might be useful at the population level, it certainly doesn't color my perception of myself. So, or I would say people need to fight against that, right? No matter what the averages tell you, you need to look at yourself and just figure out, where am I at? What skills do I need to build, et cetera, et cetera. So these things are same with applying for a job. So if you think, oh man, like I'm really looking for a guy for this position, and then a woman comes in and can do the thing and matches the culture, if you shut yourself to that, you're certainly not mapping to my values. I made my values very clear earlier. So for me, it's like, I want a person that can do the thing. So that's where I'm like, okay, maybe on average, like if I judged my wife by the average woman, I will be eternally confused, because she doesn't have major mood swings. She has always been very stable emotionally. She is not jealous. I mean, there are a whole host of things that I think people would say on averages that, okay, these are far more feminine traits. And my wife doesn't display the vast majority of them. But at the same time, if I think of her as male, I'm also going to be confused, because she certainly doesn't view the world in the same way that I view it. So it's like, thinking of her as an individual that I need to map as an individual, that has yielded incredibly useful results. So you want to be aware, like there is information in the fact that she's a woman, but just taking all the averages isn't going to help me. And so the utility of looking at the person in context, trying to map them to, okay, she's having a biological experience. What are the ways that she's getting pushed? But it's all individual down to that person. And so that'll manifest in business with interviewing individuals, not groups of people, and in your personal life. Same idea.
Nice. One more super chat from RJ Johnson.
Yep. Tom, I got my NVIDIA DGX Spark 1 petaflop supercomputer today. Did you order one? Only $4,000. Also, why were people dumping on 70-year-olds in last Wednesday's chat?
I don't remember, so I can't answer the 70-year-old thing. I do not have a new computer. So if there is an advantage to getting one, but right now,
Borderlands 4 on it.
I think I can play Borderlands 4 now, but that, on launch day, that probably would have been useful. But as of right now, it's not on my radar that I need another computer, but that's dope. A petaflop, that's pretty intense.
And shout out to RJ Johnson, because he is one of those more seasoned individuals, still doing it, still building, still going through
Facts.
it. So
well said.
Proof that,
Well
age
said.
isn't a limitation. All right, we got ground news read and ITU read.
There we go. All right. So guys, again, thank you all for your support of our advertisers. It really is exactly, given that I can't get anybody to work for free, that is how we keep the lights on around here. We'll try to only bring you dope things. I really do think Ground News is amazing. They're going to break down exactly how the left is covering things, how the right is covering things. You know my obsession with finding out where the center is, trying to get people there. And that's exactly what Ground News is all about. So they're going to help you spot the bias, identify the gaps, and put you in a position where you're actually parsing the information well so you can make good decisions. We've got an exclusive deal for our community. It's 40% off Ground News Vantage, which is their most comprehensive plan. Please check them out at a minimum. And if it looks like it could be useful to you, grab it up. We use it here behind the scenes. It really is fantastic. You get their unlimited access to their bias analysis and their blind spot feed that reveals the stories that you might be missing. So click the link below or just head straight to ground.news/Tom for 40% off the Vantage plan. Again, that's ground.news/Tom to get 40% off. And for anybody out there, any entrepreneurs, if you want to grow your business, make sure that you check out our Impact Theory University program that we got going on. This is our $1 billion CEO program. I'll often shorthand it to BDCEO. You do need to be making $1 million or more for that program. But if you want help scaling without all the chaos, if you want to learn how to hire, if you want to learn how to organize the company, if you want to understand how to allocate capital, all of those things, we cover the frameworks that you need to think through that. So what I found is everybody out there is basically just trying to teach sales and marketing because it's the thing that novices think that they need. And while that is necessary, it's very much commodified. If you want to actually understand how to solve novel problems, if you want to think through the most difficult things that will stall a company out, join me. Obviously, I've done this multiple times before. In fact, if you guys only know me as a YouTube personality, I've built 3 very successful companies across 6 different industries. I've done everything from build massive manufacturing facilities to building online and offline publishing, now the games division, but just have spent the last 25 years roughly as an entrepreneur. And I have helped people from how to deal with Mexican drug cartels, that is a real story, to how to decommodify a commodified business, to all the basic blocking and tackling stuff, how to deal with bad partnerships. So anyway, if that's you and you're looking to scale your business, but you're tired of being in all the chaos, make sure that you sign up for a free call today. Well, actually, in the free call, we'll help you assess the biggest block in your company. So you get that for free. And if we think we can help you, we'll let you know. All right. The slots fill up fast, by the way, because we keep these groups very, very small. So if you're going to do it quickly. And yeah. All right, everybody, you're amazing. Thank you guys for being here. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.